The 4th day of March 2021. Welcome to the Situation Room. We are glad that you are up and about and tuned in this morning. How are you doing wherever you're tuned in? Nduoko, good morning.
Good morning, Eric Latif.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Niko Salama. Kabisa.
I saw that word yesterday.
What word?
No, give her time. She'll tell us.
Oh, sheesh. Baza. Booza. What were we talking about in the morning? Bazu. Had to be. I actually saw it being used
bazu.
yesterday. I was like, hold on.
You know that
We had
journey.
this conversation earlier this
Me
morning.
personally, that journey of yours has made me happy. Boozy, Bazi.
Boza.
I saw that word boza.
I knew it was something. I knew somebody would remember. So yeah, very. It's an exact example of something you speak about, then you see something, then you see it in practice or in use. I was very happy.
So, how was it in use? Where did you come across the word?
Was it being spoken in Swahili or just was it Sheng? Because Sheng now is.
It was a combination, right? So
Oh.
somebody had posted a picture of the Kemsa buildings, interestingly enough, and said something about I'll walk past here, and in Swahili I'll walk past and I'll become Buza. Huh? Sorry.
Boza is something entirely different. It's not the current language. It's language ya before.
Yes, na boza nile machine na beba maji.
Of that one, I know what that one is.
Inaitwa boza.
Now remind me what this word is. I won't forget it now.
Boza, let's start with boza. Boza is ile sigara kubwa.
Cigar.
Unajua ile sigara
Sigara
kubwa?
kubwa.
Sigara kubwa ile.
Fagi. You don't know fagi?
Ndom. Oh, you're ndom.
It just sounds funny, but no, I do not know what that is.
Cannabis sativa.
Oh, a joint.
Yeah, joint. Okay. Yeah. Then bazu is the word you're looking for.
Oh, bazu. Now I
From
won't forget.
It's a short of bazenga.
Bazenga or mbazenga?
Bazenga.
Bazenga.
Yeah.
This isn't an opportunity for you to create your own words. Just go with the
Language
flow.
is fluid.
So bazenga.
Go with the flow, Bazenga. You've been
Bazu.
told. Don't
do you
mbaga
get
it.
Bazu from
Don't
Bazenga?
mboga it. Just Bazenga. Go with the flow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mzaini aje?
Fiti, Baba. Now, Eje.
Niko fiti.
See? I've been greeted with maximum respect.
Clearly.
Total. Absolute.
All of it.
Filled to the brim.
Unreserved. How are you doing today?
Very well, actually. Yes, even yesterday I was doing
You
well.
okay?
Even today I'm doing well. Even now I'm doing well.
Well
Very
done.
good. Very good. You've chosen to sit there today.
Yes, and even you, how are you?
Me, I am fine.
Even
I
you,
speak
you're
like
fine.
a Kenyan.
And even you, Eric?
Me? I'm also fine. Welcome to the show. Today we'll have a number of conversations. So, number one, the Kenya Railways Corporation, the top management of Kenya Railways will be with us in the studio. So we'll have the CEO and the managing director. Now the managing director and the chair of the board of Kenya Railways will be here. We'll be looking at Kenya Railways. It's if we just look at it in terms of history, it should be the oldest corporation in the republic.
It is.
So, all those years of Kenya Railways, where are we? And then we've seen a lot of new activity by Kenya Railways in terms of revamping what we have as the operations of railway. Now we have the new route. No, not the new route. The route that has been revived to Nanyuki. They're reviving the route to Kisumu, using all the other routes that they're doing. So there's all that's happening. So we'll have the chair and the MD in the studio to talk to us. We'll also have a conversation about the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. This fund has been there. It was established under the Kibaki administration in 2003. So for 13 years, 2011 minus 13, just do the math. 2011 minus 13 is 2 years.
Yes.
Okay.
2011 minus 13.
It's 2 years. It's okay. This is the teacher. Do not argue with the teacher.
1998.
2011 minus
2021
Oh, plus 13.
What is
minus
he talking about?
2021 minus 13.
2013 from 2011. What do you get? It's just two.
What are you looking for exactly?
The Youth Enterprise Development Fund is 13 years old.
It was established in
13 years ago.
13 years ago was 2008. No, 13 years ago was 2008, yes.
Why did you say no in the first place?
Because he was saying 2011 minus 13.
No. Or the answer that I produced was quick. Too quick.
Oh, because people were confusing
So
themselves.
the chairman of the board of the Youth Enterprise Development Fund will be with us this morning, and he'll tell us how. So during this time, COVID, youth and employment opportunities, what is it that the Youth Fund is doing to bridge the gap? Where are they taking the money? How much money do they have? How can the youth access this money? And have they removed all those barriers of, you need to be this and the other? Okay. And have people who have actually borrowed money from the Youth Fund before been able to repay? So those are conversations that we'll be having today. Remember as well today, Matungu and Kabuchai are going to the ballots. It's a do or die battle for candidates. Amid rigging claims, it's always a do or die battle.
It's always a do or die, and it's just
And
a
then
simple
nobody
by-election. Well, some are
For the candidates?
The candidates, no. No, hardly.
Yeah,
But do or die, it's a by-election.
it's a by-election.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll have all that. So where are the vaccines now? Have they arrived at Kitangala?
Yes.
They're there.
Thank you, Tengela.
They're in Kitangala. Okay.
But bear in mind,
And there's power.
There is power.
I knew that was coming.
Oh,
Wonder
unajua
working power.
stima ilipotea, sasa zimeharibika.
There has to be power, I beg. If not, there'll be problems.
Stima ilipotea na generator haikuwa na mafuta. Sasa tukapiga simu. So tell us about COVID.
Okay, so let's look at the numbers around the world very briefly, shall we, before we go to specific news. 115 million is what we're looking at now. So we saw that in the United States yesterday, Governor of Texas, Governor of California, rather, let's say, different mayors around California had said that they wanted to now release measures, COVID-19. The governor of Texas went ahead and said, okay, everything done. Masks, no need. Social distancing, not so much of an issue anymore. Can we dine in again? Yes. Open restaurants, open bars, open cinemas. Let's just forget this whole thing. So Texas, number one state in the U.S., has said it's done.
Let's open death.
Basically, is what you're saying.
Carry on.
The head of the CDC, I think, cringed and had a minor aneurysm when she heard this yesterday, because then she went on to say, but what are we doing, guys? We are fermenting death, essentially. And more states are likely to follow suit in the coming days in the US and say, well, you know, it's okay. There's no need for masks. The vaccine is here. Go get your jab. You'll be all right. We're looking at 29 million cases of COVID-19 in the US, almost at 30 million, with 531,652 deaths. Yesterday, the cases reported in the US, 66,879, 2,350 deaths yesterday. With all of these things having been said and done, the cases are still quite, something. Of course, we're not seeing the 100 and something thousand, 200 and something thousand cases per day in the US. So this could be the reason why it has fueled the decisions in certain states to, release certain measures. Okay? So that's what's happening, and we're likely to see more and more. At the same time, from reports given, we're also likely to see a rise of infections. The fourth wave is likely to happen in the US if caution is not taken. Let's look at what we're looking at now. Coronavirus live news. COVID death rates 10 times higher in countries where most adults are overweight. Interpol warns fake vaccines have been seized in China and South Africa, and they say this is the tip of the iceberg. Brazil suffers another day of record COVID deaths. Let's look quickly at that Interpol story. Police in China and South Africa have seized thousands of fake doses of COVID-19 jabs, the Global Police Organization said yesterday. And they're warning that this represents only the tip of the iceberg in vaccine-related crimes. So we're already looking at vaccine crimes in the world here. The Lyon-based Interpol said that 400 vials, equivalent to around 2,400 doses, containing the fake vaccine were found at a warehouse in Germiston, outside Joburg in South Africa. Okay? They said that the officers also recovered fake masks, and arrested 3 Chinese and 1 Zambian national.
May I ask?
Yes?
What makes them fake?
What, the masks or the vaccine?
Both.
Oh, it could
The
have been
vaccine.
anything. Could have been saline, solution.
It does not have the active ingredients.
ingredients.
They need to say it. They need to say it. Because if you just say fake, man, it opens up. Because, for instance, remember, up until the beginning of this week and now, the AstraZeneca vaccine, Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, was in France and Germany not being used among the elderly because they had said, man, we don't have ample proof that this thing works. France was the first country to say, actually, given the reports that we're getting from from Britain, it is clear this thing is effective, all right? Germany has now also declared that it is effective. So up to that point, you could have said, you know something, when it comes to the elderly, this thing is fake. It doesn't work. South Africa, remember, had also mentioned that.
Wait.
Yes?
Does fake equate does not work?
That is precisely where I'm getting with the word fake. You need to say, instead of using, maybe it's a reporting issue, but you need to say, the vaccines we are referring to as fake are this. These are the ingredients, this is what they contain. But using the word fake.
You are using the Kenyan translation of fake. To fake.
A Kenyan
It could be
reader
fake.
reading the word fake will interpret
is
it
anything.
in the way Kenyans understand fake.
Because you see, even counterfeits in Kenya are fake.
Yes.
Grey imports are fake.
Even individuals are fake. That's a
Grey
fake
imports,
person.
for example, are not counterfeit. They are not fake. It's an actual proper product. It's just that it has not come in through the proper channels.
Yes.
Fake in this particular case is people are selling things labeled as vaccine and it's nothing close to
They are not
vaccine.
vaccines and they don't contain ingredients which in the remotest possible chance offer any relief or any protection from COVID.
But this is
And
an
that's what
interesting
Interpol
story.
is stating.
Wait,
now.
this is interesting.
It is, isn't it?
I remember
So,
yesterday when was it Anthony from Mombasa? What's his name? A caller from Mombasa who said, "Look, this thing, we don't even know how it's then going to be secured." And then you find that the private sector is also now being allowed to provide, to sell, and supply. How do we know?
Exactly.
And this is where the questions
This is
come
a
in.
problem.
If already there are people who are manufacturing and distributing that, then it's also possible for it to get its way into the black market in the country.
Absolutely.
And it's sold to you, and you go to a private clinic, and you're told, okay, this is the jab.
Pay 1,000.
Yep.
It is a problem, for sure. All right? And that's what we're looking at now. So they say, whilst we welcome this result, okay, so let's look at what they said. 3,000 fake vaccines on the scene. They raided the manufacturing premises, resulting in the arrest of some 80 suspects, seized more than 3,000 fake vaccines on the scene. Earlier this year, they had issued an orange notice warning authorities worldwide to prepare for organized crime networks targeting COVID-19 vaccines, both physically and online. So they had said this thing is likely to happen, which of course, I mean, hear about it. The whole world is waiting for the supply of this thing. Definitely somebody in a lab somewhere going to be creating their own things and selling it as the authentic stuff. So they had said this is going to happen. And so they're warning the rest of the world to say, be on the lookout. It's very possible that things like this could happen. Okay. Greece prolongs its lockdown to the 16th of March and say, look, we can't quite yet open up things. It's reported the highest number of new cases recorded so far in 2021, with 2,702 new infections and 40 deaths Wednesday. And so they've said, okay, whilst we were thinking about releasing measures in a couple of days, we're going to give it at least another 2 weeks and see what happens after that. So they want to reduce mobility. We want folks to stay at home and stay in their neighborhoods. Where we thought that the highest numbers were recorded in Brazil the day before yesterday, it turns out yesterday was even more than that. And we're talking about fatalities now. 1,910 deaths reported in the crisis-stricken South American country is what is being called now. Brazil really struggling with this and doesn't know what to do. More and more deaths resulting from COVID-19. Bolsonaro's handling of this crisis is not getting any better. And his administration, obviously, we know that they've played catch-up from the very beginning in terms of ignoring how serious the situation was before. So this is a tough one that they're dealing with here. So dealing with people being infected, dealing with deaths, and then bringing the vaccines, trying to protect people at the same time. It's a menagerie of craziness right now. Okay, so that's what's happening there. Right, so...
May I ask?
Yes.
You see, what is also evolving, given that we're in the information age, and things that previously would take months, if perhaps forever before you actually got to know it, we get to know. And COVID has been the center of conversations for literally everyone on the planet. So now there is rollout. Because of modern technology, here we are. People had said that we might get it in 2022. There are people like C.T. Muga who had said the earliest that Kenya may get it probably will be around August. But here we are talking about March. But there is yet another discussion that is developing in this very vast and profitable arena of vaccines, the manufacturers. What are the manufacturers doing? What are they demanding from countries? Because this isn't an order where you, Ndu, Eric, and I go and make an order to get vaccines. It's ordered on our behalf. What they are demanding, and the news that seems to be making headlines, is how it is that certain pharmaceutical companies are beginning to squeeze, are beginning to demand. Whether these things are true or whether it is just sensationalism, in the coming days, it will become more and more apparent.
What kind of demands are they now placing?
Well, look at it this way. One of the things about not just vaccines, but any drug manufacturing has to do with side effects and who is liable, just for starters. Should something go wrong, who do you go to for compensation or for recompense? That's number one. One of the matters that are being discussed globally now is manufacturers want, since it is countries ordering, they want the burden of liability to fall on the countries who are actually importing the drugs.
On the customer.
Yes, and by the way, wholesale, meaning even if there's a manufacturing defect, which has nothing to do with the country that has placed the order, even if it is a shipping problem, which again has nothing to do, they are still liable. It is being reported in some quarters that it's extremism and taking advantage of a situation where it is known that this is required. I've read and heard of cases where certain pharmaceutical companies have even asked countries to provide collateral of military bases, assets that the country has. Now, whether this is true, in the coming days, we will be able to determine whether it was just sensationalism, yellow press, or whether there is some truth to this.
18 minutes after 6. Let's take a break now and see how the weather is going to look like today throughout the world. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. The live stream is up. SpiceFM KE, YouTube, on Facebook and Twitter. Log on there and say hello. We'll be saying hello to you shortly. Good morning.
Japan, biotechnology, yes! Hey, Samuel, are you into business now? What are you importing from Japan? Knowledge! I'm going to study biotechnology in the best university in Japan. I applied and ta-da! Japan? Yes! You will have to first learn Japanese. No, my friend. They have more than 850 courses that are provided in English and very affordable. Hey, how do I apply? Kuja Osome Japan. Study in Japan Global Network Project brings you an opportunity to study in Japan. Log on to www.studyinjapan-africa.com and apply to study in Japan with over 100 universities providing cutting-edge science and technology courses including the field of robotics, artificial intelligence, AI, environmental studies, information technology, and many more. Not only postgraduate but undergraduate.
The weather with Spice
Clear
FM.
skies in Nairobi this morning, highs of 27. Nyeri mostly cloudy at 13 degrees, going to highs of 25 today. We'll see highs of 28 in Nakuru. It's mostly cloudy at 16. Clear skies in Eldoret, however, at 14, highs of 25. 30 the high in Kisumu today. It's mostly cloudy now at 21. Kakamega is mostly cloudy at 18, highs of 31 today. 32 will be the high in Mombasa. It's mostly cloudy at 26 as well in Malindi, looking at highs of 32. 22 degrees and mostly clear in Kampala. 27 the high and lows of 19. It's also 27 degrees and partly cloudy in Dar es Salaam, highs of 32 and lows of 28. We're looking at clear skies in Johannesburg at 14, highs of 25. 34 will be the high in Lagos, where it's mostly clear now at 28. Also looking at clear skies in Kinshasa at 24, highs of 34. Looking east into Beijing, 8 degrees, cloudy conditions. At 14, that'll be the high, coming down to lows of 2. We'll see highs of 12 in Paris today. Clear skies currently at 8, coming down to lows of 3. 2 will be the low in London. It's 5 degrees now and cloudy, only going to a high of 6. And finally, for now, New York into Wednesday night. Cloudy conditions at 7, highs of 11 and lows of 3.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
Right, 21 minutes after 6. People are online, and let's see who is online this morning.
Benson Momo says, good morning, guys. I'm tuned in. Rogers Lies, tuned in from County 001. Waterman Jeffrey as well. Wood Dalla. Good morning. He says he's humble to drink from your well of wisdom, as ever. Nakuru is locked. Moses Kashari says, Juja, we're tuned in and looking for a new MP, unfortunately. Huh?
Yep.
Hot spot between Jubilee and UDA. Watch as it unfolds. Kenya Railways is a white elephant, he says. So I guess he's looking forward to that conversation this morning. Robert Mpogo says, good morning. Spicing up in Mombasa. Solo Were, the sun has risen. Well, it will. So awesome to be back home at Spice. Well, welcome home. It's been forever and I've missed you. We have missed you too. Yes, Laban Tanui Kapte says, good morning from Koriot in Nandi County. We are tuned in. And Ali Tonics is tuned in and locked as well. Butte Water tuned in this morning, as is Kijana Paulo. Reagan Nyandinga Jr. says, I'm back. I've been out for long. Well, welcome back. Alex Kipto, good morning from Moyes Bridge. Loud and clear. Where's Moyes Bridge?
Moyes Bridge.
Yeah.
It's at Moyes Bridge.
Okay.
Okay, Koibatek.
Thank you. I know.
Where is Koibatek?
What we refer to as Eldama Ravine, Rift Valley. Okay. Yes.
County 00?
Believe me, it is in Kenya.
It is somewhere in Kenya.
I believe you.
And just so that you understand it clearly,
Yeah.
Rift Valley.
Oh, okay. Even clearer.
I guess it's somewhere. I don't know whether
But
it's
there's
in
a
Wasingishu.
there's a Moyes
or
Bridge,
in-
Wasingishu as well.
Yes.
Okay.
In Wasingishu County. On your way to the other one, to Kitale.
Yes.
What's that county for Kitale? We talked about it yesterday.
Kaganti for Italy was Wasingishu Baba.
No.
Oh, it's called
where Matiang'i was, and we were talking about
goodness
the
gracious
Disco
me.
Matangas.
Wasingishu is where Eldoret exists, isn't it? So the other one is called goodness gracious me. It's gone.
Transoya.
Transoia. Yes.
So interesting to see both of you confused like this, waiting for the answer to drop from heaven. It's
From
very nice.
somewhere, right?
No,
It's very nice. I like
that is
it.
what you saw was us putting into play an advanced Google search.
Yes.
I like it very much. You should do it more often.
Such results coming back after 7 minutes.
Shiragan Y also says good morning. He's about to board the train from Kawa Station. Hopefully today you will not have to switch engines and you'll get there in good time. Everybody's tuned in this morning and more to come. Good morning, everybody.
Guten Morgen. Siti Muga. Today's proverb.
Right. A leader of the community without a pot belly is stingy.
So who has a pot belly, the community or the leader? A leader of a community without a pot belly is stingy.
Yes.
So who's stingy, the community or the leader? You can ask both questions. Titi.
Look at it this way. Literally speaking, we are talking about a certain historical significance to actually having a literal pot belly. It was a sign of wealth.
Yes.
Okay? Wealth here being measured by the abundance of food, and you being the meter for measuring the abundance by your consumption and the manifestation of that consumption, which is exemplified in your belly. But if you take the meaning a little further and just talk about the significance of wealth and the portrayal of it. And remember, a pot belly was not just wealth, it was also well-being.
That's true. So if you don't have a pot belly, then you are stingy to yourself.
Yes, and you're also not well. Something is wrong.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's look at the headlines.
Let us. So, on the front page of the Standard, there's an interesting story. Revealed. Ungodly lives of priests. God. Okay. Yeah. So, secret affairs. It's an idyllic life for men of the cloth until an isolated incident catapults them into, this is a nice word, ignominy. Beneath the veneer of saintly conduct are men bursting with vain ambition, sensual longings, and clamor for material glory. So this story obviously has come about as a result of several things. Now, if you're looking at the details of this and as to why it is being reported this morning, murder at the altar, when men of the cloth turn into killers. There have been chilling tales on the shooting of trusting colleagues in priesthood to a couple whose lives ended inside the church they had built for years as worshippers watched. The residents of Gava, as the estate is popularly known, Kevin Kiplagat passed for a cousin who frequently visited his relatives every other weekend, possibly on break from college or work. But when the truth came out, not even his father, Elijah Kimayo, could come to terms with the circumstances in which he died. Kip Koech was studying at the St. Thomas Aquinas Seminary in Nairobi and was expected to go back after finishing his 8-year communications. So this is the story in relation to what happened where a woman and her son were found dead along Jogo Road last week, and also this gentleman in their company. So police are still trying to unravel how Kip Koech, Charity Cherop, and her 8-year-old son, Alan Kipnetish, died. The incident adds to a growing list of men of the cloth who have been killed or hurt in circumstances that have left the faithful baffled. So 21st March, it was raining in Makueni, and it was the norm in most parts of the country where heavy downpour was synonymous with a blackout. But it was an act of the man of Makueni Catholic Mission House on that night that was to dominate conversation for the months that followed. Another story where it started with a reunion of a few good men of God, ended in an attempted murder conviction for a fast-rising priest from Machakos. So it's another story of yet another priest, and it goes on to give stories of several priests who died. February 23rd, March 21st, 2010, July 14th, 2005, January 6th, 2020. We're given examples of men of the cloth who've been found in quote-unquote questionable circumstances, and in this case they have died. So the investigation continues as to what really happened with this gentleman, but points that there are quite a number who have been in this almost similar circumstance as priests and found to be in questionable circumstances, because the question you asked also, if he was a priest, then it was assumed that he was celibate, now aspersions are being cast onto this relationship that he had and what really happened. What was he doing with this woman?
Child.
The police are asking these questions.
Wow.
The police are certainly asking the questions, and they should. But I am going to wait for the police to tell us. But talking of people, persons of the cloth, and the problems that they have, Tanzania is reporting something exceedingly alarming. Goodness gracious me. Page 2 of the Star. 16 nuns, 25 priests die of virus in Tanzania. Church. Nation, page 10. Alarm in Tanzania as church reports nearly 100 dead in 2 months. Both these reports clearly mention. One, let's start with the report in the Nation. The Catholic Church in Tanzania has disclosed that dozens of its clerics have died from illnesses and symptoms similar to those of COVID-19, exposing the devastation in the neighboring country, whose officials have downplayed the disease. Yesterday, Father Charles Kitima, the General Secretary of Tanzania's Episcopal Conference, TEC, said the church had reported that 25 priests, 60 nuns, and 2 elders of the laity have died in the past 2 months. All had difficulties breathing, among other respiratory complications.
And it's across the country. It's not just in one district, one province, one region.
It's across the country.
So whatever is affecting them is actually across the country. Right.
Those are large numbers.
Those are
many numbers, guys.
in 2 months, because this is between December and February.
Those are large numbers.
Problem here. It's a problem here.
Okay. It's a good thing that they keep bringing out these stories and telling, okay, so this is what has happened, and then let's see, is the church going to? Because remember, when we speak to Tanzanians and they've told us, the church, especially the Catholic Church, it's very, very big in Uganda, in Tanzania, in this country. So
in this region,
it has serious influence, going all the way into DRC and Burundi as well.
But you know why it's tragic, Eric? Because according to the same Conference Secretary, Father Charles Kitima. You see, their biggest challenge is that they don't test. They have over 500 clinics, 500 across the country.
Catholic-run
Yes,
clinics.
but they have neither the equipment nor are they allowed to test. So, is that tragedy upon tragedy? Yes. If measures to test or measures to...
So they don't test for COVID?
They don't test. They're not allowed to test. And neither do they have the equipment to test for COVID. And that being the case, it means you need to bring in the equipment because it isn't as though they were waiting for COVID to come along. So it's one of these situations that you read and you look at and you say, what a tragedy. What indeed a tragedy.
Let us see what the church actually does. Because you see, like I'm saying, if the church is as influential as we know the church to be, if the church pronounces itself strongly on such a matter, then things could change.
Yes, they could.
Especially if they say, look, we have lost this number of people, then we are also seeing our congregation, people dying. Then
and lean in on the
Yes.
presidency
Yes.
and say, you know, we need to take this a little
let's
bit
do
more seriously.
something different.
Just
For
pause
sure.
for a second. Remember when we had the Secretary General of the Union of Clinical Officers, and he referred to themselves as super spreaders, given what they do. Do you know people of the cloth do the same thing?
Yep.
Same thing. Now, theirs is even more because it's routine. People go to church, not just once a week,
Yep.
in the course of the week.
Yep.
There are all sorts of functions. So people who are involved, can you imagine the rate at which they can actually spread the
Can
infection?
spread it a lot.
You know, people who go to hospital, you go because you need to go to hospital. The vast majority of us don't go to hospital because we don't need to go to hospital.
Sure.
Doesn't
And
go
yet,
to church.
yes, church is not the same.
27 minutes to 7. Let's take a break now, see what's happening on the roads, and then look at other headlines. Good morning.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
The realest and craziest couple are now on your screens. Terrence and Chebi are bringing you top celebrities and trendsetters on Thursday Night Live. It's double the fun and double the laughter every Thursday at 10 p.m. on KTN Home.
La 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 la. Japan biotechnology. Yes. Hey, Samuel, are you into business now? What are you importing from Japan? Knowledge. I'm going to study biotechnology in the best university in Japan. I applied and ta-da! Japan? Yes. You will have to first learn Japanese. No, my friend. They have more than 850 courses that are provided in English and very affordable. Hey, how do I apply? Kuja Osome Japan. Study in Japan Global Network Project brings you an opportunity to study in Japan. Log on to www.studyinjapan-africa.com and apply to study in Japan with over 100 universities providing cutting-edge science and technology courses including the field of robotics, artificial intelligence, AI, environmental studies, information technology, and many more. Not only postgraduate but undergraduate level is also covered. Mention our course, you will not fail to get it.
Traffic.
Okay, so terrible accident that took place on Mombasa Road this morning, and that is what is causing all the traffic that you see right around the SGR. It was a fatal one, and unfortunately we have a body on the road, guys, so you need to be very careful as you approach to and from this area. So anybody stuck in this, you're going to be stuck here for some time until that is sorted out, and hopefully emergency services can get to this one quickly, because it was a fatal one, and the trailer also still in the middle of the road, as is that one rider. Okay, so SGR going towards Devki on Mombasa Road, involving a transit trailer, and that is what has caused all this traffic there this morning. It does look pretty bad, and it's affecting traffic in and outbound. All right, Muthaiga, it's moving slowly this morning, not too terrible at the moment. It is likely to get to a bumper-to-bumper situation in no time. So if you're not out, you might want to sit it out and then wait and see how that opens up. All right, more details of coming in and to what is going on around the city will let you know in a bit. But if you're going towards Mombasa Road, that's what you need to be aware of this morning. Not looking pretty good from where we are. Okay, SpiceFM KE, that's how you can get in touch with us on Twitter. Text on 40127. Give us details of what you might see or where you might be stuck. All right, take a look in a short while how things might have changed.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Before I look at this headline, I've just seen that comment. Greeting from Otieno Odero Jr. Read it.
Otieno. Okay. Otieno says, good morning, Ndu. Good morning. The rest can go for their greetings in Kabuchai. The rest, being two of you, can go for your greetings in Kabuchai. How dare they harass you instead of helping you with the word bazu? Like you, Jerry, the one who knows these things. Well done. Otieno Jr., good morning.
While we're at it, that the area I was referring to wasn't Moise, but it was Kambimoi.
Kambimoi is on Koibatek.
That is on in Koibatek, Eldama Ravine.
Why have you just ignored Junior's?
I haven't ignored
He's on
it.
his way to Kabuchai. He has just...
Oh, he's collecting his going to
Remember,
get his greetings
we've
from
been
there.
consigned to go to a certain geographical part of the country. And so, while on the subject of geography, I thought a little correction would be in order. But the interesting about Kambimoi is that it emanates from actually 3 regions, Kakamega, Trans Nzoia, and Uasin Gishu. Yes. Yes. It's a meeting point of people from these 3 geographical areas.
But it is,
yes, but it is in... No. Moise Bridge. It is in Soy constituency.
Moise Bridge is in Soy constituency.
Kambimoi, Koibatek.
And Kambimoi is different from Kambimoto, which is in
very
Baringo.
different from Kambimoto. And it's also different from Makutano.
Kambimoto is in Baringo. Okay, there's a headline here. Father and son are having a public tiff. Raila tells Kingi to wait for him to retire before trying to inherit him. So, you know, of course, what we've been talking about. Kingi is pushing for this unification of all coastal parties to form a strong coastal movement. And Raila, shaken by this kind of movement talk, is in the coast now. And he's been responding to this and saying why we have been working with ODM has been working here on the coast, has been strong representing the coast. Why would you come and have this conversation now? He maintains that the idea of a coastal political party is aimed at segregating the region from other parts of Kenya, adding that ODM is a national party which has legislators in Kilifi, Kwale, Taita Taveta, Tana River, Wajir, Turkana, Western, Nyanza, and all the other areas. He called on Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi and Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho, who are, he said, our appointment in the coast, not to be troubled. We can continue the journey together. When I retire, you can take over. When I retire, and I'll decide when I retire, you can take over. He says, look, Kingi, I helped Kingi political career since 2007 to date. Why has this man never pushed for this idea of a coast political party? Why now? In 2007, 2013, 2017, ODM was not bad. Is it a bad party now that we are coming to 2022? Those other parties have been there. Why did he not use the Shirikisho party then? I want to ask Kingi not to worry himself. He should join Joho so we can work together. Joho himself said, No. His objective is to unify all the coast region parties into one unit. He says the region should have its own political vehicle. They are aware that the law does not allow for the formation of political parties on tribal, religious, or regional basis. Their plan is to unite the 4 existing coastal parties to form a single coalition, and they'll become a national party. The coastal parties are Kadu Asili, Shirikisho Party, Umoja Summit, and Devolution Party. These parties have their roots here. We should be allowed to unite and not be criticized. He says, look, we have seen in Western, Musalia of ANC, Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya. They have decided to form a coalition to represent their people at the national level better. The same applies to Ukambani, where we have Kalonzo and Charity Ngilu, who have united to form a coalition to represent their people. There is no party which does not have its stronghold or roots. Everyone has its stronghold, like Bandari FC. It's a stronghold funds here. Its stronghold funds here are in the coast, but it has supporters across the country. Yes, Bandari FC is from Kenya Ports. Its stronghold is in Mombasa, but it has support across the country. AFC has support across the country. Gor Mahia has support across the country. Something.
So does Manchester United.
Support across the world.
For purposes of just discussion, it is a good discussion. It's a good discussion in that the political space isn't dormant. Yes, all manner of things are coming up, and we are seeing the sort of maneuverings and the sort of positioning that politicians usually take when they foresee changes coming about.
Yeah.
But also, one can foresee fallouts. But also, one can see changes. Also, one can see the emergence of new political individuals and power bases, and one can see the demise of many others. So, we are in a pleasant season. These are conversations that must continue.
Let the conversation continue.
Let them continue. Let them
Okay.
continue. And at the end of the day, the deciding factor isn't Joho or Kingi.
the
No,
people.
it's the voter.
It is the people.
It's the voter.
Let the people decide.
And the people will decide.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in terms of other things that are being decided, the dispute between the teachers and their employer continued yesterday when a third union was finally recognized by the government. The Teachers Service Commission signed a recognition agreement with the Kenya Union of Special Needs Education Teachers,
Right.
KUSNET. The decision is expected to widen the gulf between the Commission on one hand and the Kenya National Union of Teachers and the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers on the other side. The two unions see KUSNET as a threat, apparently. TSC Chief Executive Nancy Macharia and Chairman Mubarak Twahir, met KUSNET Secretary General James Torome and other officials in Naivasha, where they signed the agreement that gives the union powers to participate in the 2021-2025 collective bargaining agreement negotiations. The deal also allows KUSNET to recruit members and represent special needs teachers on key issues with the government and other organizations. It will also sit with the Commission to address matters affecting its members. KUSNET, according to the agreement, has been recognized and duly registered by the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Labour and Social Protection. The new deal leaves KUPET and KNUT in a precarious position as some of their members could join KUSNET. KNUT has about 20,000 members. KUSNET has 9,000, while KUPET membership has grown to more than 100,000 in the past few years. There are more than 15,000 special needs teachers across the country. Some 200,000 teachers are not unionized. Most of them are former KNUT members.
Ndio hiyo.
This is a path that our doctors' union must observe and study very, very carefully. You get a commission.
This is what
Indeed, it will champion the things that you feel should be prioritized. However, it's a double-edged sword.
it is.
But it's a good thing. Look, there are 200,000 public school teachers who are not affiliated to any of
union.
these three unions. 200,000. So why are these unions feeling threatened?
Eric, I want you to look at the positive side. But many of them are members of SACCOs.
Yeah. Many of them are members of SACCOs. These unions can still go fishing.
What they should
100,000,
ask is
200,000.
why is it, I mentioned SACCOs. People join SACCOs because they know the benefits.
Yes.
Somebody will ask themselves, what really am I benefiting from this union?
Apart from paying money to
Yes,
the union.
you will ask that question because if you look at the double speak and the quadruple speak that you sometimes hear from these union leaders, you're actually left puzzled, completely puzzled as to what on earth are these people talking about, really?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they say this, the next time they say this. So you wonder, wait, is this person really a head of a union? Are they a government apologist? Who do they actually represent here?
Are they in the opposition?
Yes, because
Are they using this for their own
what is it?
political
Because
games?
representing the teachers or representing people who are part of your union doesn't just mean you keep agitating for more salaries. No, it means agitating for something that is realistic and something that they can actually achieve. Not something that is so far-flung that even in 100 years it's unlikely they will get.
I think it's a good thing for the government to recognize all the unions if they want to come up.
Let everybody in.
It's also clear that this is long game. This thing that was becoming NATO was becoming a bit uncontrollable. So encourage others to come up and speak for those that are.
They speak for themselves as well.
Don't feel like Sossion is speaking on their behalf. This also will raise questions about Wilson Sosion's tenure at the helm of the union
KNUT,
as
right.
chairman and then as secretary general. This is a time when you've seen the emergence of two unions rivaling us when you are the boss.
I think it is a good thing. And in that, you and I are in agreement. because let the variety of interests be taken care of. Once upon a time when NAT just represented a puny number of teachers, that is long gone. These people are many.
Yes.
And it is clear just one union may not necessarily be adequate to address their needs.
That's true.
Let others come up.
14 minutes to 7. Time for another quick break, and then we look at other headlines. Good morning.
Japan, biotechnology, yes! Hey, Samuel, are you into business now? What are you importing from Japan? Knowledge! I'm going to study biotechnology in the best university in Japan. I applied and ta-da! Japan? Yes! You will have to first learn Japanese. No, my friend. They have more than 850 courses that are provided in English and very affordable. Hey, how do I apply? Kuja Osome Japan. Study in Japan Global Network Project brings you an opportunity to study in Japan. Log on to www.studyinjapan-africa.com and apply to study in Japan with over 100 universities providing cutting-edge science and technology courses including the field of robotics, artificial intelligence, AI, environmental studies, information technology, and many more. Not only postgraduate but undergraduate level is also covered. Mention our course, you will not fail to get it. Visit our website today on www.studyinjapan-africa.com.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It is 12 minutes to 7 o'clock. There's something that has been brewing. There's this self-regulating organization of the media called the Media Council of Kenya that's recognized by law, that is governed by law as well, right? The MCK Act. So there has been a bit of a boardroom tussle because of the presence of one board member. Her name is Tabitha Mutemi. Tabitha Mutemi was appointed a board member of the Media Council of Kenya through a competitive process, which brings in stakeholders on a panel, and the panel then chooses who sits on the board of MCK to represent various sectors and cadres. Okay. The issue here, though, is that Ms. Tabitha Mutemi has for many years been working for the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. She's a senior manager at IEBC. It then emerges, after some advice was sought, that the Attorney General wrote an advisory and said, look, Tabitha Mutemi, sitting on the board of MCK and also working for IEBC, contravenes the law, and this is the IEBC Act, which says that a person who works for the IEBC cannot work in any other public office. So, having written that letter for the Attorney General, having written his advice, the CEO of the Media Council wrote to the chairman of the board and said, look, as Secretariat, we can no longer recognize Ms. Tabitha Mutemi as a board member, because that means that as CEO, I'll be authorizing payment of her, like sitting allowances and such, and I'll be held liable because I've already received advisory from the Attorney General.
Right.
Matter has gone all the way to court, to Parliament, and the Parliamentary Departmental Committee on Communications summoned the CEO of Media Council of Kenya, also summoned the Solicitor General. Solicitor General comes and says, look, the manner in which she was removed from office is unprocedural. You cannot just say that we don't recognize her and therefore she no longer sits. There's a procedure for removing her from office. And therefore, that, as far as law is concerned, there's nothing. The procedure wasn't followed in removing her. So Parliament therefore ordered the Secretariat of the Media Council to recognize Tabitha Mutemi as board member. However, at the same time, IEBC had written to Parliament and said, as far as we are concerned, she's an employee. As far as we are concerned, we have never been told by anyone that she is also serving in any other public entity. We did not know. Now, you guys, this is the information. Internally, now we shall commence our investigations. And if indeed she has flouted the rules of IEBC, we shall take action internally as deemed fit. Brings me in the issue of why such a kerfuffle over something
As simple as this, that could have been sorted out very
And for me,
quickly.
sorting it out is from the very beginning. All right, Tabitha, maybe you had actually not understood the law when you are applying to
For
be
this
a board
position,
member,
yeah.
after it has been brought to your attention that, okay, you know what, you flouted, you can resign.
Exactly. You can just say clearly, I flouted the rules unconsciously or otherwise.
Yes.
Okay, I made a mistake. Let me step back and then let this thing sort out itself. But then you hold on to the reins and then now it becomes a mess. Why?
The larger picture in this, look at the mechanisms that we seem to employ as Kenyans in resolving issues that are contentious.
Yes.
Okay? Is this the best possible way to have resolved this thing?
Of course not.
Yes.
From the very beginning, there's the council and the board should have understood
Yes.
what is the procedure, what should we do. All right. So Omoyo, the CEO, could have said, this is what I have received, write to the board and say, guys, I have received this and the other. And therefore, because of this, I need you to give me the right way forward. And let's follow procedure of addressing this. Going all the way to Parliament summoning people. I mean, we've taken so much time.
Talking about that,
Yeah.
the Business Daily headlines, Port top, okay, let me say it again. Ports, as in Ports Authority of Kenya, top job applicants flop.
Right.
This is the headline, all right? The search for a new Kenya Ports Authority managing director is back to the drawing board after Treasury Cabinet Secretary Humanitarian rejected the shortlisted candidates. Why? They did not meet the basic requirement of achieving 70 or above.
Yes.
All of them,
Scored 70 and below.
yes,
Below
not
70.
60 something, 60, lower
scored
60,
below
upper
70.
60, below. So the matter went back to the chairman of KPA and they were asked to go over the process yet again. Actually, governing procedures when it comes to these things, it's clear. It's not an iffy. You need a certain percentile is what allows you to be shortlisted now for. But why did they take those names when they didn't even meet that threshold?
See, these are the questions that you ask yourself. The previous MD, the one who is being replaced by the one that they are seeking, had actually scored above 70.
He had.
Okay? This is the engineer Manduku. He had gotten 80 something and he was appointed. And he's the only one who had passed that. So he was appointed. The board, which is comprises of very competitive people, including retired General Kibwana as the chair,
Bwana, yes.
sits and goes through an entire process and then proceeds to forward names, not for an exercise they're conducting for the first time. And they know that there are provisions, even if it's not in the act, there are provisions from the presidential directive on presidential circulars that say, this is how we shall appoint the head of such an institution. And then you don't meet that threshold, and then now you're taken back to the drawing board, and then, this extra number of months, they must have known what was happening.
Well, let me mention the list of the 3 people whose names were dropped. There was one Mr. Kasuku. He headed LAPSET from its inception in March 2013 till last year when his term expired. Then there was a Ms. Mabruki, an economist, served as chief executive of Kenya National Shipping Line. Prior to that, she was she was a principal officer at KPA Finance Department. And then there was a Mr. Mohammed, who's an advocate of the High Court and runs a law firm in Mombasa. Okay? Now, the question that comes to my mind is this. Does KPA not have people who've worked in that system long enough who understand, or people in the shipping industry, one of them, Kenya National Shipping Line, people who work in the shipping industry who would understand the peculiar nature of the functions of a port? The port, by the way, is not a bank. The port, by the way, is not a railway terminus. The port, by the way, is not an airport.
Business.
It's very unique function that unless you may be qualified as an administrator or even as a manager, but the uniqueness of the port requires somebody who has a background in what goes on at the port.
Yep.
It's important. That is my view, of course.
Okay. This
Yeah.
one, let's see.
Let's see. So, remember how we talked about how it was important for Tanzania to, even recognize the existence of COVID-19 in the country. And we're looking at some of these cases that we are now seeing in terms of the hundreds of those who have reported with COVID-19-like symptoms. Now, Kenya has intensified the COVID-19 surveillance on the TZ border. Kenya has increased this, and following reports of a rise in COVID-19 cases in the neighboring country, it comes as officers at the Lunga Lunga one-stop border point enhance efforts to counter the spread of COVID-19. Kwale County Commissioner Joseph Nyeri said the government has enhanced its corona fighting measures. Speaking to the nation yesterday, Nyeri said observing COVID-19 guidelines and protocols is mandatory at every international entry point, including Lunga Lunga. We have become more keen on those using this road and post. Anybody arriving in the country must have a COVID-19 test certificate. Well, we know you can buy those, but okay. The situation will remain like that until the virus is eliminated or when everybody has access to the vaccines. He said that with restrictions being enforced, some people might opt for informal routes when entering or leaving the country. He added that those doing that would be arrested and arraigned for endangering the lives of others. The number of people using such routes is said to have sharply gone up in recent days. Anyone who wants to get into the country or leave should use the official stations in Lunga Lunga, Vanga or Shimoni. It is an offence to take shortcuts, he has said. So, surveillance rising on the border with Tanzania. Let's see how that goes.
Let's see what the new EAC chairman also does in terms of rallying the other members of the EAC to work together with Tanzania. Right? And the new EAC chairman is none other than President Uhuru Kenyatta of the Republic of Kenya. Battle for Weston starts as the court rules against Ruto. So this story is on page 4 of the Standard. It says the Deputy President has lost the first round of a court battle filed by the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority on the land where his Weston Hotel stands. In June last year, the hotel had urged the judge to dismiss KCAA's case, arguing that the Environment and Lands Court had no powers to hear it. He says basically the hotel was saying, we have not exhausted all other avenues before we get to this court. However, the judge yesterday said, no, we have jurisdiction because we can hear it from any point. The court has powers to hear cases emanating from the commission. The judge ordered parties to prepare to tell their side of the story on the 12th of July. Basically, remember the chronology of this. First of all, the hotel had said, no, we sit on this is legitimately acquired land. It's not public land. Then they go to a point where they said, all right, so let's have a conversation through the National Lands Commission with the KCAA where we can discuss compensation. How much can we pay in terms of compensation? Now, KCAA has been adamant. No, mimi nataka shamba yangu. How much do you? Mimi nataka shamba yangu.
Wow.
Case has been in court.
Give me my thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, ustaki pesa, mimi nataka shamba yangu. Si uchukue tu pesa bwana.
Nope.
But there's more to this matter than just that. You know, when you look at the political sphere, anything that involves a person who is in the limelight, like the Deputy President, yes, you always feel there is more to this discussion than what we are reading.
You feel that there's something else?
There's always more to it.
Keep it right here. The conversation continues into the next hour. We'll have the guests in the studio this morning. The chairman and the managing director of the Kenya Railways will be talking about the revitalization of the rail industry in the country. Keep it right here. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is the Situation Room. Shortly, we'll also be live on KTN Home, as well as being live on SpiceFM and online. SpiceFM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. Say hello to us. We'll continue acknowledging your greetings. Good morning. It's now 7 o'clock.
Spice up your life. Spice FM, Nakuru. Traffic.
It's moving on Thika Road this morning. It's quite slow as we're trying to get into the CBD. Coming off of Kiambu Road, we've got multiple lanes and trying to join Muthaiga Square. That's going to be a problem today. Mombasa Road is already crazy. We had seen this before. An accident that took place there is slowing down traffic quite some. Coming all the way to the CBD today and all the way from the SGR through to Nyeri Stadium Roundabout, then out towards the CBD, moving very, very slowly today. It's that day. We thought it was Tuesday, but it happens to be Thursday. It's that day where there's a lot of traffic. So we're going to have to keep an eye out for that one. I've got to remind you again, Kenya Ferry Services says you cannot get onto the ferries either at Likoni or Mtongwe without M-Pesa. or rather, we cannot use cash anymore. It's what causes traffic in the mornings, so please M-Pesa only if you're getting onto the ferry, all right? Some traffic coming off of Langata Road and a little bit coming off of Limuru Road. We'll see how that develops in about half an hour. Let us know if you're stuck somewhere, you find a good route, let us know as well. The service lanes are working on Thika Road, as are the bypasses of Eastern, Southern and Red Hill. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only
2.5 minutes after 7 a.m. A very good morning to you and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. It is The Situation Room. We are now broadcasting on SpiceFM. We are also live on KTN Home, as well as live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. City Muga, as we begin the hour, today's proverb.
Indeed. A leader in the community without a pot belly is stingy.
A leader of the community without a pot belly
Is stingy.
is stingy.
Yes. By the way, it's a Nigerian proverb.
Ah. Yes, no. Okay.
You get it.
I understand.
Yeah? So who's here? Who's stingy? The community or the leader?
All of you.
The leader of a community without a pot belly is stingy. Or who has a pot belly? The leader of the community.
If everybody, can you imagine if everybody in the community has a pot belly?
Oh, yes. The leader would be
The
happy.
proverb wouldn't exist if everyone in the community had a pot belly.
Let's tune into the conversation that we want to have this hour, and this is surrounding the Kenya Railways. We are joined in the studio by two guests. One of them is the chairman of the board of Kenya Railways, and he is retired Major General Pastor Omudo Awita. And the chairman is the chairman of the Kenya Railways, and also we're joined by the managing director of Kenya Railways, Philip Mainga. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Good morning and welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
So this is what you're sitting on now is called a hot seat. We just warmed it up a bit for you, just for your comfort. Sit back, familiarize yourself with the cabin. We'll be taking off shortly. I know this is some of the language that, of course, you'll be using when you're using the commuter trains in coming days and what has already been in operation. So let's talk about the revitalization of Kenya Railways. But let's first of all understand Kenya Railways. As we were talking about this earlier, I was saying, I'm not sure, but I would think that Kenya Railways would be the oldest corporation in the country. Am I right, General?
You are very right. Kenya Railways, if you remember, started as East African Railways and Harbours. And that was for the 3 East African countries. Of course, the corporation at one stage, that stopped, and therefore Kenya Railways was formed. So you are right, that is one of the oldest corporations in the country.
Right. And over the last couple of years, we've seen a number of changes that have been taking place in Kenya Railways. Of course, there is a change of management, appointment of boards, and then new work that has taken place. Maybe you can just tell us, and then the MD will tell us what exactly you have been doing the last couple of years.
The last couple of years has been very exciting at working at the Kenya Railways. As a board chairman, I have dedicated new team of board of directors who are giving strategic direction to the management to undertake most of these works that you see going on all over the country. We have If you remember very well, at one stage, Kenya Railways had a concessionaire called Rift Valley Railways. That was terminated in 2017, and therefore Kenya Railways now took over the operations of running the trains as opposed to just taking care of the estates and the land assets. That is what we call meter gauge railway. So the meter gauge railway is back to the railways, and the meter gauge involves all the tracks right from Mombasa to Malaba. Of course, with branch lines from like Nakuru, Kisumu, and then Nairobi, Thika, Nanyuki. And then the commuter services uses the meter gauge railway. Now, what has happened is that we started rehabilitating the meter gauge railway. We started, first of all, from Thika to Nanyuki. That is now operational and is being used to convey goods, cargo, and passengers. Then we embarked also on the revitalizing the commuter within the Nairobi metropolitan. The idea is to provide services to the Nairobians by providing commuter trains. We started by using the old coaches and the old locomotives, which we simply modified for them to be able to carry people standing, sitting and standing. Now, that was not very efficient because, first of all, because of the age of the locomotives, and of course also the numbers. So what we did then is to add more trains, what we are calling the diesel multiple units, DMUs. These are faster and more efficient. We ordered 11 of them from Spain, a firm called SFM in Mallorca, Spain. There were 11 of them. But at the moment, they first of all delivered 5. There's 6 to go. 6 should be arriving in the country anytime end of this month or early April. Now, the idea is to provide efficient services and more frequent service to the Nairobians in the dedicated routes, like from Central Station to Makadara, Ruiru, all the way. Then we have again from the Central Station to Embakasi Village. And this is working very well for those who are going to the airport. Then we have the line from Central Station going all the way to Syokimau to connect with the SGR. Then we have the Kikuyu line. So what we intend to do is to run frequent services so that the citizens can have comfort in knowing that when they leave their places, they will get to the Central Station. For instance, if you come from Syokimau, instead of taking maybe 1 hour or 2 hours on Mombasa Road, you will take something like 20 minutes. So you park your vehicle, if you are driving, park your vehicle at the station, get into the train, and get to the CBD. Now, we are going to have this more frequent. We are intending to have an hourly train running from those directions. So that is, and again, on the meter gauge, we are currently rehabilitating Nakuru, Kisumu, Longonot to Malaba, Gilgil to Nyahururu. Now, this is to provide economic activities, provide transport for those who are undertaking economic activities in those areas. Now, that is as far as the meter gauge is concerned. Then we have the SGR, the standard gauge railway. That is working between Mombasa, the Nairobi Nairobi terminus, and then up to Naivasha, Maimahiu.
Okay.
Right. If you are aware that this was given to the running of the SGR was contracted to a company called African Star that has been running, of course, in conjunction with the railway, but the operations and maintenance was handed over to them. This was a 10-year contract, but subject to review in 5 years. Now 5 years ends on the 31st of May 2020. Currently, we have negotiated with the contractor so that we take over the running of the standard gauge railway. First phase has started. We have taken over the security because this was part of in the contract.
Right.
We have taken over the ticketing, and we have taken over the fueling of the trains. These phases will go on smoothly up to 31st May 2020 when we take over the whole operations. In other words, instead of the 10 years, we are the contract is we are taking over in 5 years.
Okay.
And we have prepared for it, and we are ready to go.
So we're saying 2021 then. 2021 is what we're talking about, right? Not so it ended in 2020. So now we're looking at taking over from 2021 where we are currently.
Yeah, we started on 2021.
Yeah.
But the eventual takeover, the whole takeover will end on the 31st of May 2022. That was the 50 year.
The 50th year.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a time when, if you look at, and also maybe for you, Mr. Mainga, when we looked at Kenya Railways and the operations within the country, it seemed as if everything was, it was dead. There was nothing happening. Commuter train, there was non-existent. Of course, SGR was a dream at that point. And now we see all of this activity happening. People are excited that they can go from one spot to another in 20 minutes as opposed to sitting on the road for 2 hours. What would you say was that spur that you made say, okay, from a place where things were dead to a place where now it looks like it would take over once again? What happened?
Thank you so much. And just to inform you, Kenya Railway is about 124 years old, because you had you had said that. Now, we have taken a drastic strategic plan. Number one, I want to tell you, all over the world, the engine of driving any economy, apart from other infrastructures, roads, air, the key is the railway system, which is vibrant. So what happened between, in 1980s, there was a progressive decline of the operations of the railway system in Kenya. They decommissioned in 2006 when we concessioned to Rift Valley Railways, and all the operations were taken away. Now, the challenge was there was no much investment within the infrastructure that we were managing, and therefore, for 11 years, when Araviana was operating this system, especially the MGR, we had to look for alternative. And that's how SGR was born. Phase one, that's Mombasa, Nairobi, then Nairobi, Naivasha. During that time, I must admit, we continued to operate the meter gauge railway line, but Kenyans were not aware, because we have never stopped for a single day to operate the meter gauge railway line. But it was dilapidated. It was, gone almost. So what happened in 2017-18, we mooted up a plan where as you know, Area Horn, and those of us who are there, and most of Kenyans who really enjoyed the fruits of the railway system, when you go all over the country, you hear them talking. We had arteries all over the country where Kenya was connected by an efficient, reliable railway system, where when you are sleeping and you are going to school, you would hear the train hood. Just in your neighborhood, you wake up, you dress up, you go to school.
Yep.
All those things went under. So in 2018 and 19, and I want to appreciate and thank the government, we came up with a plan and they said, this infrastructure is viable. And number one, we don't need anybody to come and help us to revitalize the railway system. So what I did through the board was to recall all the former Kenya Railway employees, about 4,000 of them.
All of them?
All of them, those who are energetic.
Okay. So how had they left? They had retired or some of them?
Most of them retired.
Okay.
Some of them had left. We called them back. And these are people who have been trained as specialists in technical areas for a very long time. Indeed, some of the engineers trained in UK and other countries. So we brought them back. And we started engaging. And the first place we started was Kisumu Port. I want to admit to you today as we talk, since last year, we have done over that 4 million liters of fuel from Kisumu to Jinja and the Port Bell. At about 40,000. And we are doing 3 trips for MVU every morning. So we revitalized, first of all, Kisumu Port, and also revived the ship through the government support. And then we went out and looked at what are then these other lines lie dormant. What happened? Land grabbed, railway lines uprooted, people doing everything all over the country over this system. We came up with a strategy and said, through the board and the government, we were asked, are you able? We said, we are able. And we formed a very big team, our management team and our technical teams all over. So what we started is we mapped out all the lines, and we started now engaging and reviving most of the lines within the country. So we started with what the chairman has said, Nanyuki line. We deployed our own staff. Strategically, let me be honest here. When we did the cost-benefit analysis and we wanted to deploy a contractor there, the cost was about 18 billion. But we said, Apana, the government told us, can you do it in a lower cost?
Right.
We did it with 1.8 billion. Today,
Contractor would have been 18.
Yes.
You did it with 1.8.
With 1.8 billion.
How?
Okay.
I must ask how. So where this 16.2 billion shillings where would it have gone if you had gone with a contractor?
Yeah, what we did is that we used the people that the MD has just talked about, but we also brought on board the engineers from Kenya Defence Forces,
Right.
particularly to work on the embankments, viaducts, and the bridges. And then we used the National Youth Service to clear the lines because most of these were covered by forests and or all sorts of things. So by using this government staff together with our the railway staff, those that were recalled, much as we pay them, is not the same that what the contractor would have charged, and that's why the big difference in pricing.
That's a huge one.
amount.
I think this is why we say thank you for saving us that money.
What I'm puzzled by, something whose usefulness and viability was obvious from the very beginning. It may be an unfair question because you were not at the helm then, but I will ask it all the same. Why did it go to disuse? How did it get to the point where it was, as my colleague put it, essentially dead? Yes, once in a while you saw some engine plying, but you're never really sure where it was going or where it wasn't going. How did it get to the point where it died?
I must admit, number one is a railway system is both capital intensive and labor intensive. So what happened? Somehow, there was no continuous investment initially on the railway system. But the worst came in when you handed over to a private operator, whose main aim was to make money.
Yep.
If you are a private businessman, your interest is making money.
It's profit.
And you ignore investments. So there was no investments returns, both in our lorry stock, which is locomotive, wagons, and the coaches. And then the line rehabilitation was neglected. So what happened is, out of that, one by one, the operating agents began to close lines, closed Nakuru, Kisumu, closed Thika, Nanyuki, closed Voi Taveta, they closed all our branch lines in Nairobi. We were left with this Syokimau route only. Those times, there was no Embakasi, there was no Ruiru. So when we came in, we looked at the potential behind all this. And let me tell you, the infrastructure was intact, but neglected. So all you needed is a little investment
To bring it back.
But again, it comes to mind. So what exactly did the SGR do that the former railway system could not do? What is it that they are doing or they promised to do that couldn't be done before?
I think the only advantage that we have with the SGR is that it is modern equipment and therefore moves faster.
That's it.
At Makiu, there was an agreement within the 3 East African countries to introduce SGR between the countries. We did our. That's why the phase 1 was up to Nairobi, and then the phase 2A up to Naivasha. The intention was it gets to Malaba and connects with the Ugandan side. The Ugandans have not done their bit, and therefore we are still stuck in Naivasha. But just to answer you, it's just the efficiency and the speed at which you deliver both passengers and cargo.
And just to be clear, SGR is also under Kenya Railways. It's basically a Kenya Railways product.
I must admit, and this is where we come in, this facility is managed from what go. It's our investment. We manage it day to day from 2017. And it's only that we had an operator who has been running it for some time because of the technical knowledge that we needed from the construction contractor. But just to enhance what the chairman has said, SGR is a wider gauge, 1.435. The other line is a meter gauge, 1 meter. So what we needed as a country through the East African Master Plan and a protocol that was agreed by the head of states was that we have a master plan for the 3 countries, which will also be expanded to the other regional partners. And therefore, SGR is a very key infrastructure in connecting. If you look at what Tanzania is doing now, they have started, they are moving very good. Kenya had gone ahead. We know Uganda is preparing. So this 1.45 has several advantages. First of all, is you are not able, in the future, we may not be able to get the rolling stock for the meter gauge. Because in the world, we are diverting from a meter to 1.35. And therefore, we must change with the times. But of importance is the connectivity to the port. What the country needed most was how do we clear and evacuate this cargo that is in Mombasa? How do we fit in the region? And trade facilitation is a very key, important thing for this country. And the railway system comes in very handy to support that. So the SGR came in, and if you look at the evacuation of cargo now from the port of Mombasa to Nairobi ICD and to Naivasha and to the region, it's quite efficient because we are taking only 8 hours from Mombasa to Nairobi. At the same time, when we move with our meter gauge, we take a bit of longer time, more than 15, 16 hours. So that comparison and that competitiveness is very key for us. And all of them, let me tell you, is a synergy. We are connecting both MGR and SGR. For example, if you want to pick your train this morning, and you are going to Mombasa, and you are in town, you just walk to our Nairobi Central Station, get our DMU, it drops you to Syokimau, SGR station. You connect directly, you board, and you go to Mombasa, and vice versa.
more efficiency. Let's take a break at this point. 25 minutes after 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. We have our guest in the studio this morning, retired Major General Pastor Omudo Awita. He's the chairman of the board of the Kenya Railways and the managing director of Kenya Railways, Philip Mainga. We are talking about revitalization of the railway industry in the country. This conversation continues shortly. Keep it right here. We'll be back.
Have you seen them? Am I lying?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Evan Wasingishi was asking me what channel is SpiceFM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you.
What a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
Japan, biotechnology, yes! Hey, Samuel, are you into business now? What are you importing from Japan? Knowledge! I'm going to study biotechnology in the best university in Japan. I applied and ta-da! Japan? Yes! You will have to first learn Japanese. No, my friend. They have more than 850 courses that are provided in English and very affordable. Hey, how do I apply? Kuja Osome Japan. Study in Japan Global Network Project brings you an opportunity to study in Japan. Log on to www.studyinjapan-africa.com and apply to study in Japan with over 100 universities providing cutting-edge science and technology courses including the field of robotics, artificial intelligence, AI, environmental studies, information technology, and many more. Not only postgraduate but undergraduate level is also covered. Mention our course, you will not fail to get it. Visit our website today on www.studyinjapan-africa.com.
All right, the sun is coming out this morning in Nairobi. 16 degrees. We're going to have a sunny day today. Highs of 27. We'll see highs of 28 in Nyeri, where it's 14 degrees and mostly cloudy right now. 28 will be the high in Nakuru. 16 degrees and mostly cloudy conditions. It's sunny in Eldoret this morning at 14. Highs of 25. It's raining in Kisumu at 20. Highs of 30 today. Whereas on the other side in Kakamega, it's 20 and sunny. Highs of 31 and lows of 16. 32 degrees and mostly sunny is what Mombasa will look like. It's 26 and mostly cloudy right now. That's what it also is in Malindi. Going to highs of 32 today. Mostly sunny conditions in Kampala. 27 the high and lows of 19, and it's mostly cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 27. It'll go to highs of 32. 25 will be the high in Johannesburg, where it's recording sunny conditions at 14. It's hazy in Lagos. Some fog for most parts of the morning at 27. Highs of 34 today. 34 will also be the high in Kinshasa, where it's 24 degrees and cloudy right now.
Chilled Spice.
All right, still that traffic on Mombasa Road right around Cabanas all the way to the General Motors this morning. It's very, very slow, bumper to bumper in some places. That accident has been cleared out, but we're still seeing some of the effects of that traffic that held things up this morning. All right, getting out into the city from Uhuru Highway, it's jam-packed all the way from Nyayo Stadium roundabout through to Westlands and also in the other direction. The construction around Kangemi still continues, so that is slow around there. Use the Red Hill bypass or go through the other side and go throughout Kikuyu. It'll take you longer, but you won't be stuck in traffic. That's always a good thing. The Eastern and Southern bypass is looking pretty good right around this time in the morning. We'll keep an eye on things for now. Thika Road is still bumper to bumper off Kiambu Road, coming into the city at the Pangani Underpass. You'll get through not too quickly, but you'll get through. Talk to us if you need to about where you might be stuck. Find a great route, share that also. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is the Situation Room, live on Spice FM around the country, spicefm.co.ke or SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter around the world. And we are also live on TV on KTN Home. This is the radio experience on TV. In the studio this morning, as every morning, is CT Muga, Eric Latif, and Nduwa Call. This hour, we have two guests in the studio. We are talking about the revitalization of the rail industry. The chairman of the Kenya Railways Board, retired Major General Pastor Omudo Awita, and the managing director of the railways, Philip Mainga. CT Muga.
You know, I belong to that generation of people who enjoyed the railway services. Coming from wherever we lived, Mombasa to Nairobi, traveling to the rural areas. So people of my generation who traveled, the railway, we have very fond memories. Some of us didn't bother even thinking of going to national parks because you could pass through national parks. So the issue of seeing animals, all you needed to do was be in the train and you saw wild animals at some point or the other. But now that we have revived the railways services, I am actually delighted to hear that it's been revived. I want to ask two questions. One, when it comes to public transportation of people, say in a big town like, say, a big area like the Nairobi metropolis, has the railway considered partnering with other transport providers within that environment to, should we say, provide what we lack, something called public transportation?
Yeah.
Because we have matatus. We see how they're regularized, but they all belong to SACCOs. Is it not possible to come to an understanding with all these SACCOs so that what the railway does and what they do can provide a better system of transportation and a better affordable system of transportation as opposed to the hectic situation? Because there are those who think we have public transportation. We actually don't. Our transportation within the cities is private. It's not public. So that is my question, number one. If it is answered, then I will ask number two.
Good. A very nice one. And just to tell you, Kenya Railways has always had a link between the public transport system. In fact, let me tell you, we cannot do without the taxis, the buses, and the matatus. So what is happening here is we have what we call park and ride. That you can drive, you can get a bus, drops you in Syokimau station before you get into town, and you get into a train, and then you are able to move in and come to town. So what we are doing, number one, is, as Kenya Railways, we have come up with a system of the last mile, which is connecting both the matatus and the buses. And that's why we have we have come up with buses through the government, what we call the BRT. If today you went to Nairobi Central Station and you arrived from any corner of Nairobi, we have a bus waiting for you there. So our customers will fit in the bus. We have 5 routes currently that we are operating, actually ES5, to Westlands, Upper Hill, Gong Road, and Parklands. And then we have a BRT that picks people from Embakasi Station inside to the airport. So if you are traveling to the airport, you just need to pick your train or your DMU in Nairobi Central Station, drops you in Embakasi, and you ride a bus, which is a BRT, right to the Jomo Kenyatta Airport. But that is not the end of it. What we are doing, most of it is, and you see work is going on through NMS and our partnership together. We are moving, the government is moving these matatus from railway station to railway, where there used to be the railway club there, where which is a green terminal for Nairobi. So what we are partnering is, we'll drop in people in Nairobi Central Station. Our bus drops in these people to the bus park. You choose
where you want to go.
Where you want to go.
Who's operating these BRTs that you've said? The ones going to the 5 routes?
5 currently, they are being operated by Kenya Railways. Okay. Simply because we had a lot of complaints, just the way you say. When you move people to a station and you live there, where do they go? Where do they go?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have come up with, and when you go to any airport, when you go to any country, you go on down there.
You get the train.
They have services often.
You get the railway.
You get the railway.
Yeah. You do.
The bus comes in here, you go down, you get the railway. You come out there, you find a bus.
we've got to admit that I think Kenyans are quite excited about this development, because for the longest time, transport has been really a thorn in the flesh, and it still continues to be. And to say that in terms of capacity, right now, with what we've seen that has come about in the recent past, there is a hope that there will be more, that people don't have to subject themselves to sitting on the road for very many hours. I know you said that there are plans, both of you have said that there are plans to increase in terms of capacity. What are the timelines that we are looking at? Because Kenyans, you will know, and they will say, well, it's great, we need more, and it's clear that it can work. In terms of an increase, what can you expect?
Let me tell you, and I want to tell Kenyans and the Nairobians, there's no need to get stuck in a road if you are within our 6-7 routes. The timelines that we have, by the end of this year, through my chairman, we'll have an integrated railway system all over the country. And our target is that you'll move from Mombasa, you'll go to Naivasha, and in Naivasha we'll have what we call a transit station between MGR and SGR. You just transfer the way you transfer from the airport, and you fit into a MGR train, which goes all the way to Maraba. Passenger services. We are looking at the moment where we are moving every Friday and every Saturday from Nairobi. Tomorrow you come at 9, 1,600 people, all of them going to Nanyuki.
Everybody with a seat.
Everybody with a seat.
Nobody hanging out.
1,600
people. One journey. We are moving people for the last few months. We are looking forward in the next 2-3 months to have a train moving from Nakuru to Kisumu. That latest by April, May. And we are on course. And we are on the ground. We are working.
When you talk about that work now of Nakuru to Kisumu, yes, we've seen, you've been on the ground, you've been reclaiming some of the areas that have been there. You've been doing a lot of work. Just tell us about that, about how you're dealing with the communities as you go and reclaim some of your land, how you are rehabilitating the line, and also maybe are you still using military officers and NYS in this work?
Now, Kenya Railways is the technical expert for railway systems in Kenya. What we have brought in National Weather Service and the KDF to support us in critical areas. As you know, years of neglect, where levers, culverts, bridges were vandalized, we had to bring in this expertise to support us, and not only to support us, to lower the cost of construction, because these are government entities.
Yeah.
But if I brought in experts, contractors to do a bridge, the cost implications would be too high.
The commercial cost would be very,
very high. So what we have done again, 2-3 years ago, 2018, I put a notice, and we put a notice, and they told all Kenyans who are in our railway land, 30 meters, across the entire country to get out of our land, because we were reviving and we are revitalizing the railway system. Last year we did the same, and we put a notice in all the major newspapers. And we started with telling them in Nairobi, let me tell you, we could not move a train through Kibera. People were selling wares on the railway line.
When it was still there.
When it's still there.
Yeah. Even the route to Nanyuki, Karatina, the market was on
the railway.
So we told them, please, we tell you, get out of the land, go away. And we also advised the regional county commissioners and GAO to help us in educating the people. We sensitized to them. Where necessary, we teamed up with the local government, the county governments, and we moved people out of the corridor. But as usual, in fact, the rich, or those who have money, some of them had built story buildings, 10 stories, that story is. And you know what? Just right to the line. Just right to the line. I was talking to my friend and he was telling me about Bogoma. Those kind of structures. You saw on Kalau, you go to Dadora, they had built right on the station.
It can't be easy, Bonomenga, because you are dealing with historical issues, really, things that took place long before you came onto the scene. But I want to go even further back. If I look at the time when the railway came into being, we're talking about the railway line was begun in 1896 in Mombasa. It therefore meant that, by extension, railway was probably the biggest and the richest landowner in the country. So apart from just the 30 meters of land, I know this is sensitive, but I'm going to ask it all the same, railway owned a lot of land, a lot of property. Are you going to reclaim that as well?
We are not going to reclaim. We have reclaimed. You go to Kisumu. 50%, 60% of the land in Kisumu belongs to railways.
It does.
It has come back. In fact, people are surrendering titles every morning. And we have gone, teamed up with ESCC. We have notified them. They have surrendered the land. Across the country, talk not about the 30-40 meters. In our estates, all over the country, people infiltrated, took titles. We have reclaimed, and I want to say here, the parcels of land that we have reclaimed, as even Nairobi alone, they are worth billions.
That is actually where I was going with this, because one of the things that the railways did for its employees, it housed them.
Yes.
And it housed them in very, very prime areas all over the country. She's someone who grew up during the time when railway was king, understands this. Case in point, you know the railway terminus, there are those warehouses just next door. Railway, Nairobi.
The central station.
Central station, yes. There's this place where for the longest time now has been used as a terminus for matatus and buses.
Today,
yes,
if you go there,
yes,
that's where we call Bomber Line Cargo Center. That's where the small-scale traders now are bringing all their cargo from all over the world. And I can assure you, as we talk today, since last 2 months ago, when the president commissioned that project, we almost 100 containers. So small-scale traders, consolidators, that land, which was, and I know what you are saying, we spent 3-4 months. We have converted that property into a small port, custom-boarded warehouse for small-scale traders, and I want to invite you to come and see. And those are some of the assets, and I know what it means when given out, were taken over by people. So what we did, it was very tough, I must admit. In fact, in getting those people, we could not sleep because there were some other things, but we had to enforce, and government supported us. And the government also came up with the idea, why would somebody in Kikomba always come to ICD, Mombasa, to collect their wares? And you know, they consolidate about 30 people, unite together,
to come with a container.
Go to Dubai, buy one container, put all their goods there, and bring them here. And you know, the income that comes out of it,
it's not very much.
It's not very much. So the transportation cost was so high for them. And I thank God for the president. He came and said, can you look for a place for them? To house them where they can do business independently without these other
middlemen and brokers,
big boys and all that. Today, it's a success project. And I appreciate what you saw. Those go downs now. Actually, I want to walk you in there. They are accommodating a lot of cargo and a lot of people. And what do you know what is happening? Every morning they come, the small trainers from Riverside to come, they come with their people, those young men who carry cargo. They are cleared, the cargo is cleared, they put it in their back, they take it to their shop. They come with those
small trolleys,
Kokoteni, wanaweka, and you know they pay only 50 bob. So this is changing. This is a change and a transformation that has taken place within the system. And I really appreciate what you're asking, and that is what we are all about.
There's a question on social media from Eric on Twitter, and he says, you have brutalized and evicted traders along the railway line in Nakuru and Kisumu. When will you apply the same force to remove the railway properties? And that's what you're talking about. But he's talking now about Upper Hill, Kilimani, Nakuru, Milimani, Kisumu, etc. Has it started, Chairman?
Yes, as he say, as the MD has said, this started in Kisumu, Milimani area, where railway property was grabbed or encroachment on railway land. So that has been done. And as he says, this was a multi-agency kind of approach, where it's just not the railway working together. It involves even the regional commissioners and the county authorities. So we started with Kisumu, and it has gone on very well. And we have reclaimed quite a bit of land. Some people are taking us to court, but that process is ongoing. We are starting with the other areas like Nakuru also. We're targeting Eldoret, and we're targeting Mombasa. And let me just say that all the towns that the railway owns property and land, we are reclaiming. It's a sad process because some structures have to go down. But this is what we are doing. The intention is to recover all the railway property.
How are you addressing the humanitarian issues that come out of it? So, for example, a couple of weeks back, we saw the estate in Kisumu, Kibos, right? And the community there, the Nubian community who lived there for many years, was saying, you came, yes, you've been coming, but you just came and demolished all our units, and now we have nowhere else to go. How are you addressing those humanitarian issues that come up?
MD, you want to respond to that? Because you have attended.
What we are doing, we have a multi-agency team from the government. We are not closer to those people than their chiefs, their sub-chiefs, their DCs, their regional commissioners. So before we go anywhere, we communicate and we give notices. But let me ask you, I want to ask you, how much would Kenyan government continue spending on public land compensation when it owns the land?
It's a tough question.
How much do we continue having infrastructure that cannot be built because people took government land?
Yeah.
You know what we have spent in SGR compensation. Now here we own land, and people have taken titles, grabbed it, and now you want to tell government to go and pay
to get its own land back.
Right. I think one of the riding factors here is not that the land was reclaimed, is the manner in which it was reclaimed, whereby you had individuals and communities having, like you said, put up permanent structures who had been there for 40 years, whereby infrastructure existed that was not being used by the railway service at that time, just like you've said, right? So somebody has set up, they've lived there easily for 2-3 generations have grown there. And then they, with notice or not, then their living is brought down overnight and they have to sleep outside. The optics of it are terrible. So how does that look now? Even if we want to say that it's difficult to say that this is government land that has been taken.
The Kibos Nubian community case is unique. I say it is unique because if you look at the history of their movements, other people who've encroached railway land, they had other places, they bought land, whatever they did. But these are people who had been moved from their own country, participated in the war, were compensated by being given a place, and then they were moved again. So their case is unique. I don't think there's any other community in the places where the railway is claiming its land who are in a similar position as these people in Kibos. So this is the question I want to ask. I know what the law states in such matters. Surely, compassionate consideration.
I tell you, we have sat down with all these people and communities. What we are saying, we have addressed most of the issues that are raised. First of all, within the county government, we talk to the county. We agree you have to move these people to a certain government land.
Yes.
Okay.
Government-owned land.
Okay.
But let me ask you, we are carrying fuel to Nanyuki today. We carry every week a lot of fuel, 20 tanks of fuel to Nanyuki Depot, Vivo. If today you add a spillover in a place or in a market, how much damage would you expect?
Right. Quite some. Yes.
Extensive.
And a spillover of a train. You know what happened in Adreva some years ago?
Yeah.
When we had a spillover where the train went back to the station and to the estate. How many people did we lose? We are looking at both the safety of our own people. At the same time, we are also talking to them and telling the arms of government, please relocate them away from the railway line because anything can happen. Not only that, even when you are carrying cargo, there's what we call derailment or even a capsizement where the train goes off the line. Imagine now in Kibera. In fact, what we have done in Kibera is to do a wall. We do houses for them, and we have built a wall so that none of them can come in because it's more dangerous to them because of the structures. These kind of things that we are doing in the fencing, the corridor, to secure it from the, and then look at the population growth. Those days we used to talk of a few people.
Sure.
Today in every market we pass as Kenya Railways, the urban population has overgrown.
Yeah.
We have to secure our own people. And this is very key, this is very important, and we really need support to have this land.
Chairman and MD, we thank you very much for coming. As we conclude on this conversation, I'd like to come to you, Chairman. So you've served now on the board for a couple of years. You've seen the work that you've done with the management. You've seen the kind of support that can happen when you bring in other, and you say multi-stakeholder, to come and work on national infrastructure. What lessons are these that you can even give to the others? So you've got this military background, you've come in, you're managing this, and you've brought in KDF, you've brought in NYS, you've brought in the old staff from of Kenya Railways who have been trained and they had experience over these many years. What is that you can say then? Now, as chair of the board, I can see this organization going this way, and maybe others can emulate.
Thank you very much. I have served now for over a year. And I must say that what we all need to learn from what we have gone through is to have a focus as to what we want to achieve. Now, once we have identified what we want to achieve, I think the next question then is, can we do it with our own people, own meaning that we may not have that capacity at the railways, but Kenya Defence Forces maybe have it, or any other organization may have it. So what I would recommend and suggest to the government is that let's have what we call one government approach, so that not each and every organization is just doing their own things, which can be done together to save even on costs. So that is what I have learned from this cooperation that we have had with the KDF and the National Youth Service. And is something that can be applied in any of the institutions of government.
Thank you very much. Asante sana for joining us. It's 5 minutes to 8 o'clock. We thank you very much for having this conversation with us. We've been hosting the chairman of the Kenya Railways Corporation, that's retired Major General Pastor Omudo Awita, and the managing director of the Kenya Railways, Philip Mainga, two gentlemen who are really, really passionate about the organization that they work for. And clearly, there's something that you're doing, and you have this focus. And it's admirable to actually have a conversation and hear, okay, so there's a lot that's been happening and people can see, but they don't actually see the very many cogs that are moving. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you for having us. We are very happy to have been here with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
5 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Keep it right here because we'll have more conversations in the next hour. We're taking a quick break on KTN Home, but we're also continuing the conversation on SpiceFM.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, SpiceFM KE on Facebook, Instagram, and...
Japan. Biotechnology. Yes! Hey, Samuel, are you into business now? What are you importing from Japan? Knowledge! I'm going to study biotechnology in the best university in Japan. I applied and ta-da! Japan? Yes! You will have to first learn Japanese. No, my friend. They have more than 850 courses that are provided in English and very affordable. Hey, how do I apply? Kuja Osome Japan. Study in Japan Global Network Project brings you an opportunity to study in Japan. Log on to www.studyinjapan-africa.com and apply to study in Japan with over 100 universities providing cutting-edge science and technology courses including the field of robotics, artificial intelligence, AI, environmental studies, information technology, and many more. Not only postgraduate but undergraduate level is also covered. Mention our course, you will not fail to get it. Visit our website today on www.studyinjapan-africa.com.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
To the top of the hour, and that is 8 o'clock. So the conversation with the management of Kenya Railways, right, and all the work that they've been doing, all the work that they intent on doing.
Mm-hmm.
What did you hear from that?
Well, look, I hear that in terms of expansion and then realization that public transport has to be something that can be relied on by the citizens of Kenya is clearly top of the agenda in terms of what they need to do. Then, of course, you give something to Kenyans whereby they see that it works. They're going to want more, and the demand definitely will increase and rise. But then also to make sure that it is done right is an issue. I mean, we have complaints every morning here when we look at it, whether you're at the Donholm station, whether you're at the Ruiru station, coming in from Syokimau, there's this issue. There's folks standing on the train. I mean, things like this back and forth. So even in the expansion, making sure that it's actually done right, I think is a huge responsibility then that rests on the shoulders of Kenya Railways. And that people are demanding for quality service.
Yeah.
And people, interestingly enough, are ready to pay for this quality service and to get you where you're going in the shortest amount of time, possible time. And then also looking at a system that was dead for 40 years, 30 years, did not exist.
I wouldn't call it dead.
I would call it dead. I mean,
I would say it was killed because
well, killed, something that's killed is dead, right? So it was not operational. And then now it is.
You know, I'm nitpicking.
And then you give people, it's okay. And then you give people an opportunity to taste what could actually work. They're going to demand for more. And so my hope is that the resolve is as strong as we're hearing to actually have a system that operates properly.
As it sounds, right?
Yes.
Joanne Wakori says, that was an enlightening and confidence-building conversation. Those two gentlemen definitely know what they're doing. Bless them and let them prosper their dreams for the benefit of all Kenyans. Right? This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Keep it right here in the next hour. Let's talk about youth and youth empowerment. There's an organization called the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. What have they been doing? What are they doing? What strategies do they have to empower the youth and for youth to access financing for entrepreneurship? Good morning. It's now 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, so coming off Limuru Road as you get past the village market, that's slow today. Moving very slowly as you get then out past the Aga Khan Hospital out towards Ngara. If you're going towards the CBD, you want to use and join with Wangari Maathai so that you get into the CBD quicker. You'll have to sit in traffic for a bit, but it shouldn't be too bad. Right around Ngara and then going towards the Globe Cinema overpass as you get then to Tomboya, it slows down just a little bit getting into the CBD. Coming off Mombasa Road, it's still slow this morning right around the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Uhuru Highway also packed out through to Westlands. Coming off of Ngong Road to the City Mortuary roundabout, as you then connect with Valley Road, it looks okay, not too bad right now, nobody's screaming. The bypasses, it's looking pretty good on the eastern and the southern this morning. We'll keep an eye on how that goes, but for now it's not looking too terrible. Mombasa Road is what was giving people the headache this morning, and it seems to be easing off slowly but surely. Talk to us if you need to. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
It's 2.5 days after 8 o'clock. This is Kenya speak.
Bullshit.
So it's 8 o'clock. We thank you very much for keeping it right here. This is The Situation Room. We broadcast on SpiceFM. We are online and we are also on TV. We are on KTN Home for the next 1 hour. Let's begin the hour with today's proverb. C.T. Muga.
A leader in the community without a pot belly is stingy. Leader, community
pot
no
belly?
pot belly, stingy. With pot belly, not stingy.
Okay. So there's no issue here of a leader being greedy. A leader of a community with a pot belly is clearly
actually a trait that marks
eating
you as a leader is
his
generosity.
community.
Eric, in an African community, a leader, by definition, you have to be generous.
Yeah, and then so if you're generous to folks, then you're also generous to yourself, hence the pot belly.
You know, there's a Rudisha in Kono with the people you're generous to. But if you are the person, the go-to person when people had issues, whether it was domestic, whether it was commercial, whether it was social, then it meant you really had to have a generous heart. There's no question about it. Yes. And they, in turn, in gratitude, should we say, extend a grateful hand? Yes.
Hey, okay. So let's have a conversation about the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, right? And the Youth Enterprise Development Fund was established those many years ago, like we said, and what they've been doing is, championing the issues of the youth. We have had a conversation with a past chairman of the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, and this is Ronnie Osumba. And we asked him, so when we had a conversation about youth, what is it that the youth are doing? Are they able to access all these opportunities? So the government has set aside funds that have gone into this particular organization called the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, where youth are then told, you have a business idea, come in, you can access capital, because this is one of the biggest challenges that the youth have. You can access capital, go and run your organization, go and run your business, and then you'll be able to pay back. In other cases, actually, you're given as a grant. And other cases, you're given money so that you can start off. Youth Enterprise Development Fund also has, over the years, tried as well to build capacity in terms of training the youth. So you're running a business, basics, bookkeeping, how to make sure that you're compliant with the local authorities and the national government with the various regulations. Is your business well suited for whatever your idea is? And all these things that have been happening have gotten now to a point where the Youth Enterprise Development Fund is even launching a new strategic plan. And they recently launched a new strategic plan and looking at what it is that they've been doing, increasing their funds capital, how much money have they received cumulatively since they first were established 13 years ago. What are they doing? And so let's have a conversation with the current chairman of the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. He's Dr. Victor Mongera. He joins us on the line. He's stuck somewhere in traffic. Dr. Mongera, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Thank you for the invite. And yes, I'm sorry, I'm stuck in a bit of traffic that I had you given the traffic update, and I'm really seeing it live.
Okay, so just give us now that your personal experience of traffic update. Where are you?
So I actually am on Likoni Road, and as you know, the construction that's being done off the turning of Jogoo Road. So I actually thought it would be a faster route than the traffic on Uhuru Highway, but well, here I am. So yes, I'd advise avoiding that route.
Everybody who's listening in, please avoid that route. That's where our guest is stuck. He's on the way. He'll be here. When you get here, you'll get here. We'll continue the conversation. But let's start off, first of all, with let's first understand, how long have you served as the chair of the Youth Enterprise Development Board, and what's your background, Dr. Mongera?
Okay, thank you, Eric. So myself and the current board, we were appointed in October 2019. So we've been there for about a year and a half, and we've in that year and a half we have done quite a bit of work. I'm sure if you spoke with any of my board members or myself, they will tell you it has been quite an uphill challenge to get the youth fund to where it is at the moment. Before that, I was actually and currently am at Kenyatta University, where I also serve as a head of department for mechanical engineering. And before that, I was working in the UK, where I was based. So I was working within the University of Bristol, as I was doing my PhD, and before that, working at Rolls-Royce. So I think before that, then we go into the area of undergraduate, which I'm not sure we want to dive too much into.
I guess it's just trying to understand. So as doctor, what's your profession? You're head of engineering department in university. What is it that you have studied?
Okay, so I'm actually an aerospace engineer by training. I did my degree in 2005, finished in 2009. Worked for a little bit in industry, and I realized I really wanted to do the academic route up to PhD level. So I then enrolled and finished my PhD in around 2014. Now, after that, I worked in academia in the UK for some time until about 2015. I think at that time I realized that I really wanted to come home. All this training that I received in the UK, which is valuable, and there was valuable job opportunities. But for myself, I thought, why can't I take this training back home? And it coincided very well because at the time, Kenyatta University was invested heavily in starting and running different engineering programs. So I joined with the university to run the recently launched aerospace engineering program. And in my capacity, as I was doing that, because I had all this experience and exposure out in the world, but when I meet the young people who are reading the aerospace engineering program, who are doing other engineering programs, you find that young people are really, really motivated, to make a difference. A young person comes into university and they're saying, I want to change the world. So it's upon us as the trainers and the leaders to try and give these young people the opportunities that they might not necessarily have. So during that time, I spent a lot of time mentoring and capacity building young people. I helped them to connect with people in industry. I helped them to launch their projects. I helped them even to try and get to market where they were turning these research projects that they did into businesses. I think it was during that work that initially I was contacted by Daring Abroad, where they wanted to feature some of this work. And one of the things I insisted was that let's have the young people in Kenyatta University also feature in that program, because a big chunk of what I do is to help young people. And I was very fortunate because the right people happened to be watching at the time, and they saw me with the work I was doing and thought, well, this could be a person who could help young people on a national scale.
Right. So, Victor, something very interesting that you said, that young people are motivated on a large scale to be able to make a difference in their communities or in the societies where they're existing. A lot of times, and we've heard this for the longest time, that youth then, bear the responsibility when it comes to, spurring on the economy and et cetera. But then if they're also very concerned about, or rather motivated to make a difference, what, from what you've seen, then stops them? What would you say is the bottleneck, if there's only one, that stops them from going ahead to realize these dreams?
Okay, thank you. So I think one of the biggest bottleneck that I've seen young people face is they don't have that life experience. When you get to a certain point in life, and you, as we say, I have seen things. Mm-hmm. And that is just a way of articulating that you've experienced, you've done different jobs. Everyone remembers their first job that didn't pay very well, but you stuck through it because it was building blocks to different things.
Yep.
And those pathways, a lot of people who manage to pick the right path that takes them to a point of meaningful impact, it is that they have access to a mentor or access to someone who can talk to them. And this person who talks to them, you might have a candid conversation with a young person that you think it was a 20-minute conversation, but to them, they pick out so much from your experience that they then begin to think, okay, this is how I need to shape my life. Maybe I need to focus when I'm in university, spending a little of time career development outside of university. Maybe I need to think about, can I be an entrepreneur? Or maybe I need to think about, is this a degree for me, or do I want another degree? Those kind of questions which they might ask themselves later and not at the right stage in their life. And I think that is one of the biggest benefits that we try to give to young people through university and also through Youth Fund.
Okay, now, given what you do at the university, commendable stuff, aerospace engineering, goodness gracious me, just wrapping my head around it. Because when you mentioned Rolls-Royce, I was thinking, I realized, they also make engines for planes. Yeah, good. So it makes sense. Now, let me ask this question. What is it at the faculty that you are aligned to? What do you do to ensure that the training you offer to young people fits them into real-life situations in the job market?
Yes, so that what you've raised is actually an interesting aspect of what we do and something we really focus on. So we work to partner with industry in many of the things we do. It's a fact that a lot of technical degrees, and especially engineering of late, have faced the challenge of, academia has sort of stagnated a little bit. And this is because there's not been that very real linkage between industry and academia. And that is what feeds into now describing how we teach and how we train our young people. So to this, we tend to have partnerships with a lot of the companies which exist in aerospace. I know the one that comes to mind for most people is Kenya Airways, the biggest player in the aviation sector. But there are also many other aviation companies. There are many airlines. We also have the maintenance companies, which play a big role, a big silent role in aircraft. And then we also have the regulatory bodies, which actually tend to hire a lot of these young people, KCAA, KCAA, even EBK, IAK, all those. So we maintain a conversation with all of them, which means that at the end of the day, the program that we are producing and the young people who are graduating, we can actually show them that there's a pathway and there's an area that people are looking for your brain that you can fit in.
Do you notice a difference between the people that you're training now, and also if you just think about yourself when you're a student, in what the students want to do when they finish university? Are they still thinking, I want to finish university and go and seek employment? Or are they thinking, I want to finish university and go and look for opportunities where I can also even start my own enterprise?
Yes, I think there's definitely a marked difference. I would say that when we grew up, and I'm very surprised I've reached that point in life when I say when we grew up. But when we grew up, we used to think that yes, once you finish university, you go get a job. That's the pathway. Mm-hmm. And especially for engineering, it was that you finish, you get a job, and soon you'll be having a big house and driving a big car.
Yep.
And especially for companies like Kenya Railways, which you just had recently, where the engineers were very well treated, they were like royalty. Mm. But I think the world has really changed, not just in Kenya, but globally, that formal employment, whilst it is a pathway to using your technical skills, it's not the only pathway offered to young people. And especially in Africa and in Kenya, where we have such a large number of youth workforce, then entrepreneurship has become a real pathway and a real avenue for young people. Mm. So we see more and more young people, even as I mentioned, young people who are trained, who have done a research project, and they generally see that this can be an idea that they can push forward. Mm. It can be an enterprise, and they can solve a challenge or a gap they've seen in the industry. Mm. So definitely we see that enterprise development, building a business is a much more viable option for young people, and it continues to grow every year. It continues to grow and grow and grow. And that is where in the Youth Fund we find that our customer base grows, not just from the number of young people, but also the number of young people who are finding this a very good path for them to establish themselves.
Mm. What's the uptake at the fund now? Are you seeing more and more people who come through, more and more youth who are embracing the opportunities to then fund, ideas that they have? Yes, we are. So when the fund initially started, the path was very direct, that if you have a business idea, come in and then we will fund it. And that since then had grown. So it got to the point that not just youth with business ideas, but also youth groups. Mm-hmm. If you had a youth group, they could take a loan and they could use that to develop the business within their community, so that youth group and that youth center actually goes on to provide opportunities and enterprise development within the area, local impact from just one group. Mm-hmm. And now we are getting to a point where it's not just individual youth, it's not just youth groups. We had a point where the president gave a directive that let us promote the creative talent in this country. And to that end, we also even introduced a product, Talanta Loan, which is aimed directly at those young people who are in the creative sector. They don't have the same returns model as a traditional business. Mm-hmm. And since 2020, since the COVID and the COVID pandemic and the effect on the economy, the demand has been even more, because we now have businesses which before were not our beneficiaries. Yep. They were doing very well, in the hospitality, in the food industry, but the necessary period of shutdown and non-operation has really impacted them. Mm-hmm. So they're just looking for a little help, They're looking for something to just help get them back on their feet. And that is also, at the time, we provided moratoriums for people who had loans before with us, but we're also looking to provide loans for those young people who they just need, a booster to get their business back to where it was, and maybe even continue developing and growing. So definitely there's a major uptick in terms of the amount of demand that we have at the Youth Fund for our products from the young people.
And if you had to actually put it in terms of figures, money-wise, how much have you given out, let's say in the last 1 year, to various youth enterprises?
So in the last 1 year, we have given out approximately 500 million shillings. Actually, we're counting that year from about when the COVID pandemic began, because that was when our figures really we had to even change how we are analyzing. But yes, we have managed to give out about 500 million shillings in various products, group loans, individual loans, even loans to the talent industry, as we said, and loans to expand businesses, and so as to help build the economy back up.
And what's the kind of amounts of money do you give to those individuals or even the groups? Is it do they come asking for tens of thousands, or is it in millions?
So we've actually structured our products in a method you're able to fit into the category based on what you're looking for. The group loans, which is one of our most popular one, is from 50,000 to 1 million shillings, depending on the history you have with us, how much you've borrowed before, and how you've shown you are able to repay. The reason that starts from a small value is because for the group loans, we have a very low threshold. The group is registered, they are endorsed by their local chief, and providing documentation such as IDs and carry and all that. And then they're able to easily uptake a loan. So that loan has a turnaround time of 2 weeks. So you can imagine a group of young people, 3 to 5 people, can just form a group, and within 2 weeks they're able to get some access to government funding that they're able to carry out their idea. Then we have the individual loans, and those ones based on the product, they go from about 100,000 all the way to 5 million. Because in that we have loans which young people can use to expand their businesses. We have loans which young people can use to supply government tenders. We have loans which people can use to even establish their individual business. And as I said, loans for the creative talent. So we have a variety of products that we offer, and we tend to change our products based on the demand of the young people, the current situation in the markets, the economy, and how we see how impactful these products are. For example, recently we launched a loan that speaks very much to the blue economy. It's called the Vijana Bayaria loan. And that loan is meant to help the young people who get opportunities to work on cruise lines. You know, these young people, when they get offered a job, they're asked to do a myriad of tests, register a lot of things that requires a lot of money that they don't have, because of course you're looking for a job. And so we are able to give them a loan that we say that in order to do all these tests, because they're prescribed and we know how much they cost, then you need about 100,000. And so we give you that loan. You're able to do everything based on the fact that you've gotten that job. You go on the job, and after your first year in the cruise, which you are paid, a lot of money that you don't use, then you're able to service that loan very quickly. So you see, that's a product that speaks very much to opportunities that are available to a lot of young people in the coastal region who are able to take advantage of that blue economy.
Let me ask this question. In all honesty, how far-reaching are these services throughout the country?
That is a question, actually, that a lot of people ask. But
well, I've joined that group of lot of people.
Yes. Actually, we have offices in all 47 counties. So we have officers in charge of the county, which we call our county credit officers. And within that officer has his deputies. And depending on how busy the county is, the deputies can range from 1 to, I think, about 10. And the job of those officers is that they are assigned constituencies within that county, so that you have that accountability. You're saying that this officer is in charge of this constituency. And the reason we have that model is so that when we are looking at the performance of our products, and we are looking at, one of the things we look at is the equitability across the region, because we can't have equal distribution, but we can try to be equitable. Then if we see an area is struggling, and an area is struggling because of a particular county, maybe a particular constituency or a sub-constituency, then we are able to query directly to the officer in charge. What is it that you're seeing on the ground that is preventing young people from uptaking that loan? Is it the terms of the youth fund is not popular, it's not known, or is there an external factor that is preventing these young people from accessing this loan? And that model is able to tell us, of course, when we do our analysis, where our issues are and what we need to do to address them. So I think we have a good representation across the country, and we have a method of accountability that is able to pick up on some of these matters.
Let's take a break. When you come back, I want to pick up on that question and find out. So in a county, how many offices do you have? How visible is this? And then we continue the conversation on how youth empowerment is actually taking place. We are speaking with the chairman of the Youth Enterprise Development Board, Dr. Victor Mwongera. He's talking to us through the phone. He's on his way, caught up in traffic. So let's find out how the traffic is looking. So as we go into this traffic break, Victor, where are you?
Yes.
How is it looking?
So I am now on Mombasa Road, past the bypass. So I think maybe 2 minutes outside the office. And
right.
this, actually, Mombasa Road is quite clear all the way to the bypass. After that, there's a little bit of traffic.
Okay. Which bypass?
Yes. The southern bypass.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, get here safely. Let's hear what is happening in other parts of the roads, also in Nairobi and in Mombasa and Kisumu, maybe. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's a Situation Room. We're live on SpiceFM online, SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And we are also broadcasting on KTN Home. Time for a break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Japan, biotechnology, yes! Hey, Samuel, are you into business now? What are you importing from Japan? Knowledge! I'm going to study biotechnology in the best university in Japan. I applied and ta-da! Japan? Yes! You will have to first learn Japanese. No, my friend. They have more than 850 courses that are provided in English and very affordable. Hey, how do I apply? Kuja Osome Japan. Study in Japan Global Network Project brings you an opportunity to study in Japan. Log on to www.studyinjapan-africa.com and apply to study in Japan with over 100 universities providing cutting-edge science and technology courses including the field of robotics, artificial intelligence, AI, environmental studies, information technology, and many more. Not only postgraduate but undergraduate level is also covered. Mention our course, you will not fail to get it. Visit our website today on www.studyinjapan-africa.com.
All right, so the sun is coming out in Nairobi. We're looking at 18 degrees, going to highs of 27 today. Nyeri is partly sunny at 15, highs of 25. Nakuru, partly sunny conditions at 18, highs of 28. 25 the high in Eldoret, where it's partly sunny at 18. It's 22 degrees and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30 and lows of 20. 22 degrees, Kakamega, highs of 31 and lows of 16. It's raining still in parts of Mombasa, highs of 32 today. It also be highs of 32 in Malindi, and it's raining as well at 28. Kampala is also raining at 23, highs of 27 and lows of 19, where it's mostly cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 28 degrees, highs of 32 and lows of 28. Looking at sunny conditions in Johannesburg, we're going to highs of 25 and lows of 14. It's hazy in Lagos, and now the rain seems to have stopped a little bit. Highs of 34 and lows of 27, and sunny in Kinshasa at 24, going to highs of 34.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM.
All right, so it's a little bit clearer coming out on Mombasa Road from the SGR through to Cabanas. You're going to have a little bit of hold up there, but then out from General Motors, out through Bellevue, slows down a little bit, then to the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. So Mombasa Road on the other side, inbound to the city, is a bit slow. Outbound, however, from the city, not too bad. It seems to be flowing a little bit until you get till General Motors. And Gong Road slows down right around the junction, and then you get towards the roundabout at the City Mortuary. It should be all right as you get towards Valley Road or going down towards Bagavi Way. So we still see some traffic on Thika Road right around Kiambu Road, but it's not too terrible. So traffic seems to be getting a little bit better. Mombasa Road and Thika Road is where it was a bit crazy today. We'll keep an eye on things and see how it develops in a bit. SpiceFM KE, get in touch just in case you need to. or you find a good route that folks can use. Text as well on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
It's 8:30.
Nairobi.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is the Situation Room. We are on Spice FM, on KTN Home, online. In the room is Eric Latif, Nduoko, and CT Muga. And we're waiting for our guest, who's now somewhere close to getting into the building. And this is Dr. Victor Mongera. He is the chairman of the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. So, fund has all these opportunities, has all these loans. For example, the way he's told us, group loan, where a group can just go and they can access from as low as 50,000 shillings to up to 1 million shillings. And all you need is register your organization, come with your identifications, get endorsed by your local chief. So just have a letter from your local chief saying, yes, I know this youth, I know the business they're doing, I know where they come from. That's enough. And in 2 to 3 days, you actually can access this money. Same thing if you think about individuals who think, okay, I'm starting up an enterprise, this is what I want to do. You can get up to 5 million shillings from the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, and then all those other products which have been set up by the fund. Where is all this info?
Well, and if you're looking at things that you would ordinarily dog people when they are looking for money to sort out their businesses or such, some of the big issues are things like security and things like this. But then if you need just a letter from your chief saying that you're all right to go ahead and do this, it doesn't seem like a process blocker at all.
Yep.
So then the question would be, why then you wouldn't have many more people going for this, against the backdrop of us knowing from different conversations that we've had about young people that one of the biggest issues, whether they're going the entrepreneurship way, was capital, funding. But it would appear that this is an easy, quote-unquote, process to be able to get help.
Easy according to whom?
Well, I mean, what have we heard? You have a group of people, you need access to funding, you get a letter from your chief within 2-3 days, you have access
Easy
to this.
logically.
Yes, I mean, if it's on paper, of course it's easy. This is the process. But in the absence of a myriad of success stories of people who've accessed it, people who've been assisted beyond accessing it, people who've made sure that they have benefited, whose businesses have grown, unless there is a supporting narrative that tells us this story, then one has to ask how useful this particular youth enterprise fund is.
You know, I think sometimes I also now want to throw the ball back to the youth themselves. So we're talking about youth in this country who form the vast majority of the population, okay? Educated, have access to information. They're not in the no information age. They are actually in the information age.
Yes.
You have access to information.
Yes.
So if you get to a point where you're saying, but Sasa, we don't know this thing, we don't know this thing.
Actually, youth do access information. Do you remember the time when we talked about an enterprise in Kenya that helps people acquire university degrees and postgraduate degrees?
Yep.
Those are online projects. Those are online enterprises. And one wouldn't be able to come across them unless you are online.
Yep.
The government portals that exist for giving people information, they are accessed by the youth. I don't doubt this.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying that the Youth Enterprise Fund isn't viable, isn't functional. No. I am simply saying it would be good to also hear alongside what they're doing the success stories of what they have done. That's really what I am saying. Yes.
That's true, and I agree with you on that. But my point, in addition to that, was how many youth know about these products? How many youth have applied for these products? How many youth are enjoying these products? All right? And is it because of lack of information? I mean, tell me lack of information, I want to throw it back and say, come on, boss. You have access to information. Even if you don't know what this Youth Enterprise Development Fund is, you have heard about it. You can research about it. You know that it empowers the youth. It gives loans to youth to access. How much information have you actually sought?
Actually, then one needs to ask for data and ask the question, how many young people actually apply for this? And of these numbers,
yes,
how many actually are able to access? And those who aren't able to access, why are they not able to access?
Right.
Okay.
Victor has arrived.
Thank you, Eric.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Again,
Good morning.
right?
Yes. Again.
Thank you for getting here on time. It's only a minute after 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Let me apologize.
Somewhere.
I think
Somewhere.
you want me to apologize then.
Apologies accepted. Even before you apologize,
Yes.
we know the routes coming to this place.
Yes.
And we know how troublesome and how sometimes they're completely unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Victor, this is CT. You know how they say when they're going to slaughter a camel, they have to speak to it kindly.
Yes.
Because he's got a burning question to ask you. So this is what he's doing. He's speaking nicely before he goes for the slaughter.
Yes.
I must warn you in advance.
Let's start from that point of the number of youth who are actually able to access, first of all, information about the youth fund, and those that apply. If you look year on year, how many youth apply for any of the products of the Youth Enterprise Development Fund? Let's just talk about now this 500 million shillings that you have dished out since April last year. How many applicants?
Okay, thanks, Eric. So one of the challenges that we have, and I think this is where you're leading towards, is the knowledge of the fund. Not so much in knowing that it exists, because I think most people know that it exists. I think it's in knowing that it is approachable, that there are actually offices where you can go, and there's an officer who will give you a large part of his day into talking you through the process. And that is where maybe we are falling behind a little bit, and that's one of the main things the new strategic plan looks to address. So I'll give you an example. When we talk to young people, and we go to Mkrueni, we go to Moja areas, we go to many areas, trying to just randomly sample what people are saying on the ground. We find that a lot of young people say, "Oh, wow, you mean youth fund is accessible to me? I thought that because I live in this area, I'm not able to access this thing. I thought that because I don't have a university degree, I'm not able to access this thing." So they have all these perceptions of youth fund, and that is one of the main things we're trying to change. And the way we're trying to do that is by really empowering the officers on the ground. Because like I said, this structure of officers, of the county officer and their assistants, those are the people on the ground who can actually tell you, when we come to this constituency, the problem is these people are nomadic. So you cannot have products that require people to be in a physical location. Or they come and tell you the problem with this constituency is that this fund is viewed to be for people who have connections to government. So because I don't know my local MP or MCA, I'm not going to get this fund, so why apply? So you see, that's a perception that really needs to be changed and needs to be turned around. And that's what we're working towards.
When you say working towards, what I like about it, it tells me that you have introspected and you've realized there are shortcomings here. But an enterprise such as this one will always have shortcomings because it is virtually impossible to meet the basic needs of everyone who wants to apply. That having been said, how do you gauge your success rate? And are the examples documented of the success rate? In short, I'm asking, what does a success look like?
Yes. So, to answer that question, I think just something to appreciate about the Youth Fund, we are a combination of a bank and an affirmative action for government change, government social positive change. Now, what I mean by that is that, we have, strictly speaking, we have all the same metrics as a bank because we do lend out to young people. The money is not free. It's expected to be paid back, even 0% interest. But because it is an affirmative action and it is meant to empower young people, we cannot have the same kind of penalties and systems that banks do. So that means that one of our key indicators is youth repayment of these loans. When you're talking about what is the repayment rate of a loan. And before we went into the COVID scenario, we actually had hit 88%. We were continuing to climb. But once we went into the pandemic and the directives, then the repayment rate really dropped. And that's where now we start becoming more of an affirmative fund, because it is not within our mandate to start demanding of youths, even though COVID or no COVID, you must repay. We must work with them. So we said, let's give moratoriums from March all the way to August for anyone who requested, so that during that period, there's no repayment, no penalty, nothing of the sort. And the second thing that we did is that after that, then now when people start repaying, talk with the officer who is in charge of your area to come up with the plan of how you'll repay. If you're still able to stick to the original agreement, then that's fine. But if we need to restructure, maybe lengthen the time, reduce the amount, that's also fine. Or if you need to have an additional moratorium, then we consider those by case basis, because there are some businesses even up to now who are nowhere near ready to get back on track. So we balance between the two metrics. And I think the success, other than the repayment rate, our other success factor is how much we loan out. Because when we do loan out, after this, we've been in existence from 2007 up to 2021. So that's 14 years. So within that 14 years, we are able to know how to loan out and what to look for when we are trying to loan out to young people. So by increasing the amount that we are loaning out to young people every financial quarter, then also that is a metric for us, because we are actually getting these government resources set aside for empowerment of youth into the hands of the youth. So those are two of the major success metrics that we use.
If I just look at one of those metrics, the pre-COVID repayment rate of 88%, right? So if we're talking about the 88% repayment rate, that means there's a 22% default rate. How much does it represent in terms of amounts, and what are the reasons?
Okay, so let me start with saying the amount. The 22% is dependent on the areas, the regions and the constituency and so on, because in a year, average is about 300 to 400 million that we lend out. Now, during the COVID time, as we said, we actually increased to 500 million because of trying to create this impact. So it's about 22% of that amount, which is about 60 million thereabouts. But when we say lack of repayment, it doesn't mean that at Youth Fund we have said, no, now that money is gone. So we actually work with the communities. One of our strategies is that we have very close ties with county government and also with the security infrastructure within a region. So, our officers talk a lot with chiefs and deputy chiefs. They actually are, or we say they should be known by the county commissioners. Whenever we visit one, we take along our county credit officer and ask, do you know this face? And if you're not known, then, that's in your next review, what happened? And they are also, even within the regional commissioner, when they roll out their programs and how they're monitoring the region, they are aware that our youth fund officers are there. So what that enables us to do is that when the repayment is not on time, we're able to follow up with these young people. And there's some reason or the other. It's not the belief that young people will not pay money is actually something that we need to counteract because they do repay. It's just that there are social problems within their area, unique to every scenario, that prevent this repayment on time. So if they see that we are willing to talk, that we are willing to say, okay, you're not able to repay this month, maybe you need 2-3 months to repay, so we'll track you for 2-3 months, but we need you to make that commitment then you find that a young person is much more willing to make that repayment. They are much more willing to communicate with us. And that's how we continue to build that repayment so that we get as close as possible to 100%.
Do you have a training program, a sensitization program, where the enterprise actually goes out of its way to try and ensure that the people who receive money from it are, should we say, trained periodically on understanding financial matters? Because you are functioning as a bank, but a really good bank, an understanding bank, a compassionate bank.
A big brother bank.
A big brother bank as opposed to, okay, so the punitive approach that many banks are associated with, are associated with. Why do I say this? Because COVID has, I think, taught many financial institutions this very same point. How it is you need to work with the person who is your partner, who buys money from you at a certain price. Do you have such a facility for the people you lend money to?
Yes, we do. So we do have, actually, within our mandate, lending out is I think the most popular and the most well known because it's a big chunk. But it's not just the lending out that we do. We also look to capacity build and develop the businesses of these young people. When they get this money, what should they use the money for? It seems for a lot of seasoned entrepreneurs, it seems obvious that a loan should be used for capacity development. For capital development. Mm-hmm. But it's not something that you can say it's obvious to everyone because remember, these are young people who they don't necessarily have that business experience. Mm-hmm. So part of the thing we train them is just from the very basics of financial services, what to do with this loan. Don't use it to pay salaries, use it to build something that will help develop your business. How to be compliant, how to eventually grow your business and get to the point that you can now get an additional loan, a bigger loan, a top-up loan. And other than that, we also look to link these businesses to the market. So you can have scenarios like there was a young person who was featured when we did the World Youth Day launch. She's a lady who is doing French beans in the rural area. I don't remember which one, but she's doing a lot of work and she's selling to the local market and so on. So one of the things we were linking her is how can you now get to the point that you're not just selling nationally, but also within the East African community and within the African Union, because all these things are there. The EU Charter, the East Africa Community, the agreements, all these things, they're working to promote the international market. And so we can act as a very good link because we can get these markets and bring them to the young people. And the other thing we also do is we offer mentorship for young people. So that if you're a young person, imagine you're a young person growing peanuts in Narok area. And you're thinking, maybe I need to do some value addition to these peanuts. Yep. And I'm giving this example because there is a young person doing that. It's not just at the top of my head. So the young person is wondering, what do I need to do to do this value addition? Because I hear that peanut butter is the thing, is the craze. And so the young person is able, if they're able to connect to someone who is in that industry, of agriculture, not even just peanuts, but just general agriculture and value addition, they're able to tell him, there are some standards that you have to meet, but you're able to do these things very easily. You're able to ground them in your area, you get the machine, you package, maintain a certain hygiene standard, and you can sell. And so that young person who I'm speaking of, he started creating peanut, and he sells in his area. It's very popular. People there don't buy branded, they buy his.
So he's actually selling peanut butter.
Yes, he's selling it in the area. And for him, it's an unforeseen market for most people in the area. They didn't even think that we could have peanut butter. Those are things for Nairobi. But
so what are the activities that you did to help him move from just thinking I'm growing peanuts to the point of selling peanut butter? What did the fund do exactly?
So what the fund does, that example I gave Eric, I just want to say, because I saw him giving his story, and that was before I joined the youth fund. So I don't want to say that we did the work. I'm not sure whether we did, but he was a very good story that I liked because he talked about how he was helped by contacting someone in the industry who actually processes. But what we do specifically, we develop forums because we deal with all the youth of the country. So we can't do one-on-one. We can't take one person and link to one mentor. So we try to do as group as possible by developing forums. Before we used to do, the halls, the city halls and so on by county. But I think COVID has taught us people are willing to go online. So we've moved to the webinar aspect of it, where we bring young people together and we bring experts in that area and we let them have a conversation. So the last one we did was on this LPO financing for AGPO. And it was actually a very, very successful webinar as I measured it because the young people came out and said that, yes, this thing is available. A lot of people didn't know it was available, so they're saying, I'm going to apply soon so that I can get a tender. But, others said that it's also difficult because they're not being paid. And, out of those conversations, and many like that, is where we had the president announcing that let government agencies begin to pay out so that some of these things can be serviced. So these sessions are very, very useful to young people, and they also continue to promote that dialogue so that we know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong.
All right. So now with the program, obviously these are ongoing programs and more people. Just linking back to that question in terms of information out there, is this clearly an open invitation to say the problems that you have going into business as young people, or even ideas that you continue to look for? Is the fund openly saying, here is an option for you?
Yes, very, very much so. We're actually saying that for young people, if you are going into business, whatever that business might be, and whatever reservations you might have, because there are many reservations that young people have that might not necessarily apply, please do come visit our offices. We've tried to have offices in every county. If that is maybe not applicable to you, you're not able to access it, then each office has a contact point. And if that is also not applicable, then we also work with, as we said, we work with the county government.
Yeah.
So even by contacting your county MCA, you can be linked to the youth fund. Actually,
I have an issue, Victor.
Is it easy, Victor?
When a new circle comes up,
Yes.
all right, you just drive around the countryside and you'll see, circle in a town
Billboards,
center,
yellow
billboard,
lights.
wherever their office is, you can actually see this is a circle coming. Youth fund, I've never seen. Why? But why? Okay, so you're in a county. Where must you be in the DO's office? Why can't you just be, like that?
Everywhere.
Eric, you're going to be told
like,
it's a government program. So they have to be nestled in government premises. Yes. Utaambiwa hiyo.
Why
But then you
can't
shout
you
about
just be visible, like in a
Actually,
very
yes, they're
plain-
shouting about it.
They're shouting about it. Yes. To Eric and the team, the shouting we can do is limited by the amount in our voice. We don't we spend as much resource as possible on the people. So when we do shout, like now I've come here and I'm going to shout on this forum you've given me, and thank you for that. But something like this now, I can try and reach as many people as possible. But these are the kind of communication channels we can use, So you'll find even...
Are you saying the law restricts you from spending money on marketing?
Or are you saying the funding restricts you from?
No, not the law. Actually, it's more the funding. We cannot, or not that we cannot, it's that our budgets, the way they stand, and we all know that we are at a time of, national, we are trying to reduce our budgets. So some activities we are struggling to fund, whilst other core ones we do have to fund.
Right.
Yeah, so if you imagine that structure I spoke about, all those officers, those officers have to be paid salary, and we have to facilitate them. This person ideally should not be sitting in the office. He should be waking up in the morning. He goes in the constituency or constituencies he's in charge of, and goes and visits people, speaks people, and makes sure that businesses are running. That's how he'll know a business is on the brink of collapse.
Sure.
So, you have to spend a lot of resources to build these people. And even there, we are very limited. We are trying to build them. But as a result, some of the other activities, we try and partner where we can. So, for example, when we say we're shouting, we tend to use the CDF funds, not us use, but we tend to partner with those who are using them to have activities, to talk about youth issues, youth matters. So when they have that, we request kindly, if you are talking about the youth, can we just slot in?
Can we piggyback on
your... Can we have 30 minutes to an hour?
Yeah.
Our officer will come, he'll have his T-shirt, and he'll talk.
Dr. Mungera,
Yes.
if all you were doing was giving out money and it wasn't being repaid, I would even agree with you 100%. But if we go by the stats that you've given, you're talking about people repaying. It isn't as though you just give out money and then it's gone. It comes back.
Yes.
And as you keep giving out more, it comes back. And the government adds you more. Is that not so?
That is true.
So how do you balance this? Because I would assume that with the length... Okay, you've been in office for a short while, but I'm praying that you'll be in the office for a longer period.
Yes.
But surely, we should get to a point that as people are taught to repay, and as they repay, and as the numbers grow, your kitty will be bigger, so you're able to do more than you're able to do now. more so in terms of communicating.
14 years later.
Yes.
Yes. So you're right in that the kitty is growing. The kitty definitely is growing, and we are always doing more. The numbers that we loan out to continue to grow year by year by year. But you see, what we have done, and this is something that we've been very stringent on, is to separate the kitty from what we call our operational. So the money that is there for the youth, that growing kitty, should grow untouched. You know, there should never be a point where we are using money there to talk to people, and because of the justification that it's a communication to grow the kitty, because, you know, it's a bit of a slippery slope. So that is ring-fenced. So now on this other side of operations, that is where we are saying that just like many other state corporations, Youth Fund year by year is having to tighten its belt. So as we tighten our belt, then what are some of the things that we must do and some of the activities that we can reduce?
Surely.
Yeah.
A man who has had to sit before academic committees to explain to them that this theory that they've written down actually is worth the qualification that you are seeking. This isn't an easy task. What is so difficult about convincing the government that this issue of communication is something they must that they must fund more?
I told you. Camel talking nicely. And then it comes.
Yes, I'm seeing the knife coming. Okay, so in terms of now that communication, because, you know, I'm glad you've asked, and I think I have a defense for that knife that's coming, is that one of the things we said in our strategic plan is that, yes, we shall communicate with Exchequer and try and build our budget. But we also have to realize that the space we play in, a space of the young people, this is a very exciting space for many people, for donors, for NGOs, for people looking to do affirmative action, even for businesses who the owners are looking to do a little bit of self-actualization. You know, a lot of people are willing to have that conversation. And that area has not been such a big priority because, you know, in the past, you know, when the government is doing well, it's very hard to justify why you would spend a lot of money, time, looking for additional resources because, of course, you're being funded. It's fine. But now that little pressure is on us, and I'm going to say little. I know you're looking at me.
I am. And I'm waiting.
Yes.
I'm listening to you with my eyes.
Okay. Yes. So now we are working towards resource mobilization, working with partners. And it is both in funds and in kind. And yet those are things that are already showing good results. Recently, we had some officers of ours from the Turkana region who were trained by the ILO, you know, completely on the ILO's budget in terms of financial literacy, in terms of the savings culture and so on. And part of that training is that they now go and train the young people in the area. So you can see that's already something that we would have struggled to do, but it's working. Also, we have a...
Dr. Mongera, this is a conversation we will have. I hope next time at least you'll be able to make here on time, minus the traffic. Thank you very much for joining us. Time has run out, actually. It's coming to a minute and a half to 9 o'clock. We want to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home. Thank you very much for tuning in to the radio experience on TV. Join us again tomorrow morning for the same. But the conversation continues on SpiceFM 94.4 in Nairobi, Mombasa it's 87.9, 102.5 Kisumu, 96.0 Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, Nyeri 90.9 and Malindi 97.7. We have had a conversation with Dr. Victor Mongera. He's the chairman of the Youth Enterprise Development Fund.
Spice FM. Spice up your life.
So, as you say goodbye to us this morning and then you promise to come again soon, what is it that you'd like the youth to know? How can they access your services from wherever they are? And if they've got any questions, how can they get them answered?
Okay, thank you, Eric. So thank you very much for hosting me, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak on our forum and our platform. So to the young people, I think the one thing that I would say is that over the last year and a half, as the board has been there, we have really worked to listen to the young people. So I had mentioned before about approaching our offices. That is the primary point of contact. Offices in every county that they are able to contact us. We also have our social media presence. We also have partnerships that we work with our State Department for Youth. where all those offices, they can actually be directed. And we also work with the county government. I know we feel like it might not reach, but it will reach.
Okay.
And if worst comes to worst, then they can look for me also. I am on Twitter. I will answer their question. If they tell me that they have not been answered, then I will look for who is responsible and they will be addressed and answered.
Your Twitter handle?
At vmongera.
At vmongera on
Yes.
Twitter.
Yes.
And the Youth Fund's Twitter handle is at youthfund_KE.
KE, yes.
Okay, so if you've got any questions to the Youth Fund or the chairman, reach out to them. Thank you very much, Victor, for coming.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Keep it right here for more conversations. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so traffic looking a little bit better on Mombasa Road, outbound to the city today. Not too terrible now. That early morning drama on Mombasa Road, at least that has been sorted out. Now, coming into the city from Westlands, no. Uhuru Highway has decided it's not happening, at least not for now. So try and clear up that traffic. It's a bumper-to-bumper situation, especially as you get to the roundabout at the University Way. Now, the turning at GM from Syokimau has been closed. You have to go to the Airtel overpass, then come back to General Motors. Just in case you're on Mombasa Road and wondering what's going on and you missed the turnoff, you didn't miss it. It's been closed. So you have to go further up, turn around and come back. So that is just a bit of information for you if you find yourself stuck. All right, let's talk in about half an hour and see how traffic has progressed. SpiceFM KE, talk to us if you need to, or text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Coming up to 3 minutes to after 9 a.m. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is The Situation Room. Thank you very much for tuning in this morning. A lot of comments coming in on the issue of the Youth Fund and the issue of the Kenya Railways. And you've all seen them and they're all being seen by the people and the officers concerned. CT, as we begin this hour, the proverb.
A leader in the community without a pot belly is stingy.
A leader
in the community without a pot belly is stingy.
What's that all about?
You know, the answer to this from the Western world lies in Jack and the Beanstalk. You see, somehow being slender and sinewy is considered to be a mark of great health. For the longest time, it wasn't a mark of great health in our communities. No. In fact, it actually points to the complete opposite of good health. Someone who had spouses, okay?
Spice. I think I like that one.
You are actually, you are not permitted to look sinewy and to look slender. There was something particular. It was considered to be, something was considered to be particularly wrong.
Yeah, it's true. The ethnic tribes in Nigeria still have what are called fattening rooms. And a young woman who is getting ready to be married is taken to a fattening room for 3 months. She's
steady.
Yes, no.
For 3 months.
All she does is sit and eat.
She's basically like a queen bee now.
Exactly. They're called fattening rooms.
And is there like...
It's not as rampant as it was about
there
30,
an average
40 years
number
ago. Of kilos. I don't know. You have to look a certain way. Rosy, ripe and plump is what they're looking for.
And this is now before you get married?
Yes.
to the king or to anyone?
To anybody.
No, just marriage.
Married?
Look, if you think back to those communities, there were reasons. You could tell whether that high standard was being maintained. If a young lady is married and
we
then
gave you our daughter.
We didn't give you some scraggly, scrawny looking somebody
Yes,
to marry.
emaciated looking individual.
No. Then you must maintain her like that.
Some communities in, say, Papua New Guinea, part of the bride gift was a python. Python, as in snake, real python, not nickname for someone, python. So when your in-laws visited, they wanted to see how well fed the python was. It was a clear indication that, yes, because you eat, but the python must also be fed.
Must be fed.
Yes, a well-fed python is very pliant.
Yeah.
It just sits there moving its neck, doesn't do not much movement. Children can play with
There's
it.
plenty of goats to feed the python.
Yes, or whatever. So I've heard the theory goes. I personally don't subscribe to it. At the full python playing around.
Yeah, feed the python.
That one's a bit beyond my
Deal
imagination.
with it.
But if you think about it, it's a traditional African saying, and it's with good reason. Remember, I tried to explain it earlier on. A leader in a community was actually considered and was required to be a generous person. Generous with their time, generous with their advice, generous with solving problems of economic nature, social nature, cultural nature. They were supposed to be generous. Yes. And that is part of the reason why, and they were all supposed to be wealthy.
Yep.
And part of the measure of wealth was the number of wives they had.
Bas.
Traditional.
Bas. Spice. So now, I wish to bring
to our attention
this particular matter. We've seen a number of by-elections. There's a number of by-elections that are taking place today. Yes? Parliamentary by-elections, 2 in Matungu and... Which are these are